Welcome back to MagusintheMedia. Hello and good evening to everyone out there. I just wanted to say I so appreciate everybody showing up for this fine night. Tonight, I think we're going to highlight a few things that have been going on and are sliding underneath the coattails of our very existence on a day-to-day basis. We are living through a moment where the systems seemed to be built seem not to be serving humanity as much as we want them to be. Things like AI data centers are being built up all around us at all times, as well as how the air is being sprayed by chemicals. It seems quite fascinating. These same chemicals that are being sprayed up in our air are now these forever chemicals being used for these data centers, interesting enough. And in the background of a system being built by organizations that we didn't choose, we also have UFO disclosure. Fascinating. It's going to be brilliant because consciousness seems to be unfolding, and hopefully we all together can awaken from the matrix. Tonight I have the great Kaiva Rose with me. How are you doing this evening, Kaiva?
Great. I'm doing great. Thank you.
What do you think? It seems to be kind of a fascinating thing that we're seeing happening not only out in the world but all around us. As AI is being driven forward into our consciousness, starting off with large language models on our phones that can just help us figure out what certain things are faster than Google. Now it seems like there's something else happening. It's these ginormous AI data centers that are being built up all around us. How fascinating is that? So what do you think about these things?
Yeah, what's interesting is I do think of in the Hermetic Golden Dawn deck, the Devil card is a great example of this. The chains, the devil's chains. I feel like on a lot of levels, there's a moral compass here, right? If we know all of these things aren't so great, it's how much are we going to buy into this? How much do we want these chains wrapped around us? And I think ultimately at the end of the day, that's what we always have to remember is people are going to make their choices. These AI data centers, the spraying of things, we can recognize as individuals, this is messed up, right? We can recognize that. And we can also recognize that we do need to make a choice to not buy into it, choice to choose things that are not adding to it, but also recognizing that to let it ruin our lives. Because I think that's ultimately the place I get to is that space of okay, it's happening, right? But am I going to let the devil rule my life, right? Or am I going to continue onward, not being ignorant? There's no need to be ignorant about the fact that this shit is happening. I'm acknowledging it's happening, but I'm also going to acknowledge that I also have the creative power of fertility and growth. We all do. So we can all still make truth happen, make the good things happen. So the way I look at it is yeah, let's be aware about it. Let's start the dialogue. Let's have the conversation so that we can not get trapped by the devil and just get these chains wrapped around us because as we see, so many people are oh, but this isn't so bad. This is actually gonna help humanity. And I'm where in your mind did you justify that? How did that happen? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And the idea that we're trying to get at in such a fascinating way for this fine evening, and why we name such a stream Planting Seeds in a Dying Empire, AI, the control and the control grid. Fascinating enough is because of how, and I always want to reach back to it, is what is AI, what is it doing, and why do we need a control grid in this vast empire? And it's the same thing that I think is very interesting because when these new technologies can stem forth like the Industrial Revolution into the AI grippings. We can all remember the first time the internet was born and how slowly it slowly but in a fast way, it kind of adapts itself into our normal everyday life. And how these tools become mechanisms for our own consciousness as we move through the world. And then all of a sudden, the great science fiction tomes that we have read, like Huxley and Philip K. Dick being the biggest one, and Orwell obviously being another big one. They cover all the topics of what does it mean for a government to rule? What does it mean for moral structures and compasses and some kind of drug-like control, as well as what is then the questions of reality that we're trying to ask, and how do these things get built up around human systems so they can be controlled by them? And that needs an energy source. And that kind of like panopticonic control grid, its energy source seems to be currently becoming these AI data centers, interesting enough. And so why they matter so much is due to the amount of energy that they're taking on in certain areas. And then you have to buy into those areas. So you have massive companies now coming into your local rural farms and places. And when people once thought that the windmills were so bad, there was such an uproar about those things. People were like, it's killing the little birds. I mean, it's giving us so much energy. And then we now ask the questions of what happens when you add massive data centers that take up like millions and billions of gallons of water around the area. And then where does that leave the people then fending for themselves at that time? And so this data grid system is going to be what connects to Palantir, right? And Palantir is going to connect all these things with Oracle. And as it leaches from our phones, we all of a sudden don't have the ability to think for ourselves because they have the ability then to change our language at the whim of a hat and put in certain different kinds of situations and ways to suck our dopamine and our serotonin levels. So we come here today to kind of help make people aware about how crazy it is in this day and age that we forget how to create for ourselves, instead of give our every whim and whammy away to more governmental corporate technocracy controls by letting these things just kind of be built up around us. Interesting enough. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, so I want to I'm listening to all of that. I'm also adding on to it from like the astrological perspective of like Saturn and Aries, right? Saturn and Aries
Please.
is really interesting, just like Saturn and Pisces was. Saturn makes things real. It makes things be witnessed. It makes you look at things that are happening. And so what's interesting is that when we look at Aries, Aries is about independence. Aries is about freedom. Aries is about not being held back, just doing things because it's going to do things. And so when Saturn is in Aries, we see this force that is holding us back. We have to witness this. And we have to witness and say, like, are we still going to be held from our independence? Are we still going to be held from our freedom? Or are we going to burn down the Saturn, right? Or work with Saturn to recognize, like, thank you, Saturn, for showing me this limitation, this thing that was trying to hold me back. Because, I mean, when Saturn was in Pisces, we saw all of this like reveal of like the hidden hand, right? Like the hidden hand has never been so apparent as it is now. And I do think it is because of Saturn in Pisces, because Pisces is like this collective pool that we all exist in. And when Saturn's in Pisces, it's the pink elephant in the room. It's the thing you can't not see. It's the thing that's like, okay, we've always felt this, but now we see it. Now we witness it. And so I think from a perspective of an astrological perspective, I do think this is like a natural progress of our evolution to recognize that this is that we need to be aware of the thing that is limiting our independence and our freedom. The hard thing right now is Neptune is there as well. So as we have this like Saturnian, Neptunian energy, Neptune creates this like complete illusion, right? So in a lot of ways, we need to track back this story of how these AI data centers started, and from what we kind of witnessed, the people that are talking about them, it's about legacy. It's about legacies built with Legos and clouds that don't exist. You know what I mean? These legacy builders
Right.
aren't even building real legacies. They are not Alexander the Great. And I don't even really enjoy Alexander the Great, but he was super intelligent. He fucking knew magic. He knew the occult, liberal arts. And so like what he was doing was like true leader power,
Yeah.
right? And you have all these people that essentially got their $1 billion money from like torture, destruction, greed, like all these horrible, horrible things. And then they think they can just throw their money around and call it a legacy. I'm just like, you don't build your legacy on children and the plundering of other people and call it a legacy. Like you didn't earn this, you stole this. So when we look at these AI data centers, like, yes, they are obviously like definitely super, super happening, but we're at this pivotal point right now where we can actually plant the seeds that we want to see. And I think that's why it's a great example with like these college students, right? At their graduations, where you have these people that are up there and being like, AI is the future. And they're all like, no. No, AI is not our future. And I think that's what we have to continue to do, because Saturn is showing us this is good. This is the stuff that's limiting us. Neptune's making this huge illusion. Uranus is in Gemini, which is like amping up the movement and the force of technology. And so I think we have to choose the technological like movements that we want to make forward. So, I mean, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Yeah, that was a big one. I completely agree. I mean, what you're talking about with the college students is that all across the country there are agents of the tech bro slash corporate America going around to colleges and giving their graduation speeches. Interesting enough how how seamless reality mimics what's going on in that day and age for the social cultural control grid structure to weasel their little agents into these situations where there are people graduating into the workforce and then try to proliferate a message out to them all. And what's up, Jugs? Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone. And the idea being that they are now at this graduation, and there's two different situations that we've seen over the past few days as these video clips, and people are talking about these AI data centers because it's quite, quite important for us to understand what's going on upon our land. If resources are being used and managed, it seems like that's a narrative throughout time, right? We always talk about it. Dune is all about the narrative of spice. And the spice is a very symbolic understanding of what is going on with our resources on our planet, and how by being plundered or by being reused into certain things that then are going to be vastly used around our entire world, because AI is integrating to all things. Everything you own will be within it. It's called the Internet of Things, interesting enough. And then, yes, yes, thank you, sir. William Birkin with the data center egregore, big archetypal concept that's being pushed forth, and being somehow these two egregores are being integrated with like Sumerian fucking chthonic old one gods that the tech bros are invoking into the world. Because then you ask, why do you even talk about this? Let alone it's all around us. Another thing, myth, magic, and meaning. If magic is being used at all times, we have to know where those magical resources are being placed. And so go back, these agents of Tavistock and different corporate tech bro places are putting at these college graduations people speaking about AI and it's the coming revolution of AI and how it's going to integrate and make everything better. And every time they talk about it, the students at certain moments start to boo this person. And this old fucking boomer or whatever they are is kind of like, oh no, why are they booing? They're supposed to be like, AI is supposed to be the coolest new thing, right? Isn't that what these videos are all about? And if it's the coolest new thing, that means all these kids are going to the workforce should know about it because. Instead, whenever they said that, remember back in the day before there was AI or any of this kind of technology, they all then cheered. And so it seems to be some kind of inversion of reality where the older structure, this old aeonic structure is actually seems to be like holding on as tight of its grips as it can. And it thinks the new generation, the new aeon of kids that are around these days want this thing that they're trying to give them. And that's just not what we're seeing. And that's very surprising in one way and very exciting in another. Thank you for joining us this fine evening, Howard. It's so fantastic to see you. And so that's why we talk about this is because of, I'm going to show you a clip here pretty soon showing this introduction into the new rebellion against the technological revolution that's happening at this very moment. So is it? Yeah, I mean, those are fascinating. So
yeah, well, just to touch on that too, like this whole idea tying into the occult ideas behind these tech bros, right? Like, how do we even know these data centers? I mean, I'm not getting like full on conspiracy here, but how do we even know like these new data centers going in are actually like for the data centers for AI? Like, how do we not know that they aren't summoning some like ancient god? Because they do name them quite strange names, like Stargate. That's kind of like isn't one of them named Stargate? I'm pretty sure. Like,
I don't know. There was a Stargate program that was going on, maybe.
Stargate program. Okay, something like that. But I don't know. I think it's interesting to even think about like, how can this be sustained? Right? Like, how is AI sustainable if they do use up that many resources? Like, how long do we foresee this
Yes, it is. You're right.
AI
Project Stargate
situation.
most
Yeah.
prominently refers to a colossal multi-billion-dollar artificial intelligence
Yeah.
infrastructure initiative
Mm-hmm.
launched in the United States, backed by OpenAI, SoftBank, and
Mm-hmm.
Oracle. Historically, the name was also used for a Cold War era CIA program investigating,
Mm-hmm.
what are they investigating? Psychic phenomena. Project
Mm-hmm.
Stargate. I just
Yep.
wanted to.
So that's where I think like our mindset is so important. Like, honestly, they have built this world, this artificial world, and they want us to live in it with them. It's such a joke. You know what I mean? Like, to a certain
Yeah.
extent, like, of course, we can choose to use our phones, connect with the internet. Like, there's nice things about it. But on another level, it's like we don't have to fully buy into this fake reality that they've created. We can go outside and touch the ground. We can choose to leave the city and go plant seeds in the rural area of America. Like, we can choose to take steps away from this like fabricated reality that they want us
Yeah.
to live in. And I think that's ultimately the power we have, is to take back our sovereignty, connect with the power of the earth because we are extremely powerful. Go get some seeds, and start planting seeds. Go grow some sprouts in your own kitchen. Like, start to see the power behind a seed and the power of the earth and the stars and the water and everything. And I think it's like, I think that's what people need. You know, we need to
Yeah.
like know that we can use the tools to a certain extent, but if we can't have some of the things we have now because it would require too much energy or data center or whatever, I think we would probably like check out. We'd be like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good without this technological advancement if it means that I'm not going to have a creek to go swim in, or a river or a waterfall, or the wolves are going to be poisoned by cyanide. Like, what the fuck? What are we doing? You know, it's crazy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Can't even collect rainwater in some places. These people, punk rock spirit time. Yeah, it's fascinating, right? So that's the idea. As we are sitting watching the rainfall, and we come to realize some things when you have time just to take a few breaths and breathe in the great air. And as you do so, you start to see kind of reality from a new way, because you can finally calm down and see and like relax and have your nervous system not have to use this fight or flight thing. And all of a sudden, when you start to see things, you start to see such an interesting effect. And as we're doing so, it almost seems like it's this control grid, this matrix-like system. But the fascinating thing is these types of words are yet but metaphors for something that is an actually embodied experience that we all feel within this human experience. And it's fascinating how then the AI data centers and the technology of this kind of intelligence that is outside of humans now creating a complete structure of human making, and then those humans that are making it don't have the correct moral judgments themselves for how they see reality, and then the inversion of reality comes along, and then we understand why the Gnostics believe reality to be the way it is, in a certain way. That metaphor of this prison-like planet, as Philip K. Dick talks about, the empire which never ends, and that black iron prison. It's very dark and sad, and so that's why the idea, as you're watching this happen, means it needs to always come back to the idea of how to then take control of our own self in this kind of thing. And that goes back to what you were saying about being able to like plant your own seeds and see it grow through full cycles, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And also just like witnessing what's happening, right? Like, we were just
Yeah.
sitting out yesterday, literally watching the rain. And then I was thinking about like how wild it is that they literally spray chemicals from airplanes over us. Like, why, how did that become like a normal, acceptable thing? You know,
Yeah.
like, we have certain molecules and chemicals that interact in the atmosphere. So why are we throwing in these like glyphosates and all this shit? It does seem like we live in a prison, right? So it's like, that's where I always come back to this, just like this idea that it's like, it doesn't have to be a horrible prison, but I would say there's temptations at every corner. I would say there's temptations, and what I mean by that is like there's temptations to give up on yourself, right? There's temptations to give up on the fact that you're here and you have sovereignty, right? Like, the devil is constantly wanting you to give up your sovereignty. And what better way to do so than convince you that you are in like a prison system, or that you are being dominated? And that's where I think it's always so important to do like a daily practice, come back to like watching the rain, slowing down, and just like being present. Because no matter what, at the end of the day, nobody can actually take your truth, your light, your spark from you. You have to give that up. Right. And so if you choose to give that up, that is a choice. And I think that's where we have to consistently remember we are always, no matter what happens, our spark is the most important thing that it could ever be. To be a human is so unique and so so beautiful that we need to maintain our sovereignty at all costs. And I think that's where it's unfortunate when we reach these situations where the data center, for instance, my friend, she was saying well, I don't know if I should disclose anything actually, but there's this piping system, right? And the boss was essentially well, somebody asked the question, okay, so what is our moral compass when it comes to these pipes? Are we giving them to the data centers? What's the situation here? And essentially the boss was well, we're going to make a ton of money. So period. Why? You're going to make a ton of money now, but then what are you going to do with that money? What are your children even going to do with that money when the world is destroyed, right? So it's there's people that are choosing to be chained to this system, and that's where we have to witness, but not get too stuck in it. And I think maintaining your sovereignty, keeping your spark alive, is just so important because it's wild out there what people will do for money and power, supposed power.
No, it's crazy. And even this same idea of being sprayed in electrical sage bringing up, and this is something just as fascinating. So also going on in the news, we have the same thing about the chemicals being sprayed overhead. And it's not even, we don't even have to go as far as saying the chemicals that, like chemtrails, which is obviously we all do. They've already come out and with videos online and people saying, yes, of course we spray chemicals over us at all times. It's because we're trying to weather modification. And obviously aluminum, barium, strontium don't actually matter to your skin. It's okay. It'll be okay. Just trust us. Instead, we have uprises in cancer and MS and lymphatic and electrical nervous system diseases. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. And that's where it's up to people to just be okay, clearly these people are psychopaths. The devil is acting through them. There is no other way. If they're so, and this is where we can look at it two ways. We can look at it in a way where this is my test, right? This is my test on how much am I going to give up my sovereignty to this creature, right? Because at the end of the day, if we give them our fear, it's just as bad, right? So we have to maintain just this level-headedness. I witness, I'm listening, this is happening, but I'm not going to be afraid because if I give them my fear, I give them more power, then they do whatever they want with that power, right? No publicity is bad publicity. No energy is bad energy to people that can wield it how they will. So it's kind of important to recognize that they're just openly doing it and they know they're doing it. And that's where people who just can sit here and say oh, it's okay, they do it because of the fields. It's but yeah, why do they spray humans? We have trucks, right? We have sprayers on trucks. We have ways of doing this that we don't have to send airplanes over everybody to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was wild. And again, I want to hit back to exactly what our great electrical sage master. Has anyone seen the videos of the tick boxes being left in the wooded areas? Some drop from the air, Lone Star ticks, and the idea is that then, which comes attached to this, and if we can see, obviously there are more ticks. If obviously around than there, ticks are like dinosaurs. They've been around forever, but they haven't always caused nervous system diseases. And so, looking into the idea of Jekyll Island and what happened there with the U.S. military and ticks, and you can go to Annie Jacobson's work to see a lot of what she talks about that as well, with DARPA and Pentagon's brain, I believe. But Annie Jacobson definitely has talked about it, and many other things, showing that nowadays not only is it causing nervous system diseases, but it's also causing these ticks. Red meat allergy. So what is the cure for that? Bill Gates is creating that, just that exact thing. He is creating forever meat, the meat that never goes bad, and the meat that is not actual meat because it's synthetic meat. And so problem, action, solution, this Hegelian dialectic that are forever causing us such ailments. I do want, just so people know, it's not just this is happening here. I'm going to show you the ticks that are causing a rare, dangerous disease, and we do it live, and we're figuring out how to add everything to the stage. So this is NPR Network. Ticks that cause a rare, dangerous red meat allergy are spreading. What precautions can you take? Massachusetts recently joined more than a dozen other states in mandating doctors and blood labs to report cases of an unusual tick-borne syndrome known as alpha gal. Okay, great. That's a great name. Obviously, gal means something. The very dangerous and sometimes fatal condition makes those contract it allergic to red meat who contracts that thing, and occasionally to mammal products like dairy. Reactions can be mild, but in many cases, they can send patients into anaphylactic shock. In 2004, a pilot became the first known person to die from alpha gal after eating a hamburger at a barbecue. The illness is caused primarily by the lone star tick, ding, 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 and far more than a decade was most common in Arkansas, Kentucky, and Virginia, where doctors have long been reporting cases. But now, as the disease spreads, up to 450,000 Americans may be living with the syndrome. According to Stony Brook University report, many aren't aware they have it until the first allergic reaction. Fascinating, right? And so what? You know what I mean? Like, doesn't it seem it's all a little too funny at this point? Like, what do you think about what do you think about that, Kaiva? I'm gonna show us here in just a second. Now Bill Gates' cure.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, again, we always have choices, right? So it's like, all right, don't eat red meat then, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. That's where
don't eat red meat. Don't become strong. I get why people don't, but then people to stop people.
Like, there's other things, but I'm also like, how in life can we be invincible, right? And that's like part of my, like, maybe it's because I'm a Buddhist, right? Okay, don't have attachments. Like, all right, red meat, fuck it, whatever. I mean, I don't eat red meat anyways.
If you got bitten by a tick, which you're not going to. So that's the idea, though. It's crazy that they designed something to make you allergic to something that then if they can make, because no one's not going to do that. So if they had the choice, these people, whoever they are going to choose to eat forever Bill Gates meat. You know, Bill Gates Epstein meat coming to you live from Transhumanist Central. You know what I mean? And so because they don't know all the stigma to it. And so that's ridiculous. It's so crazy that then you could be bit by something and then forever in your life you'd have to not do it, which would be great. Become a Buddhist and figure out the other way to get all your proteins and things. Or it's go eat Bill Gates's meat.
Yeah, I know. He's one of those characters that is just clearly acting on behalf of like the devil. Essentially, it's just like clearly in. But yeah, I know the tick thing it's crazy. I wonder how many people actually get bit by that tick, and then like, is this just like a ploy to scare people? It's just all games. It's all games. It's all games, and it's all games to see like how far will you go? How much will you dance, monkey? How much will you dance? And I think that's where it's like, I don't dance. I'm not a monkey. So like, no. Like, there's gotta be a time and like where you just kind of say like, no, I'm just gonna be good. And that's what I thought. Like a lot of those rural American people, some of them caved to those data centers.
A lot of them came to the data centers. Okay, I'm doing it live, so I'm learning on how to find that data that I already saw really fast. Okay, but I just want everybody knows is that's just one of the many ways as it goes back to the idea they were talking about just watching things and knowing that. So the spraying of the skies, one thing. Spraying of the fields, right? The glyphosate being sprayed in all our fields, thus being put into our food. And now we're
being sprayed over like the redwoods even or the Douglas fir trees. So they're spraying it even in Lake Tahoe or something like that because they want to harvest the Douglas firs. So there's just this extreme amount where like, honestly, people need to just wake up and like, this is a major super test. And like, we are clearly living in a situation where there are people that are doing horrible things that are quite demonic. And we
like this guy
stand up and recognize it. Yeah. I mean, people have to
look at that fucking smile. This is exactly. Yeah. This is Yahoo Finance. Bill Gates backed lab grown meat company receives USDA approval. And this was back in 2023. And I was just seeing stuff the other day about how far that's now come. So here's when you can expect to taste this new protein delicacy, lab-grown meat. Upside Down Food, a California-based lab-grown meat company, recently announced that it was received approval from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to start commercial production and sales of its cultivated chicken. In November 2022, the company received the green light from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. I'm thrilled to share that cultivated meat will now be available for consumers in the U.S. Upside Down Foods founder, do you see what that food founder's company's name is? Upside. It's
crazy. That's wild.
It's the Upside's food founder and CEO, Dr. Uma Valetti, said in press release, this approval will fundamentally change how meat makes it to our table. It's a giant step forward towards a more sustainable future, one that preserves choice and life. So there's that. That's crazy. Why is that crazy? It's crazy for many reasons. The number one reason is, instead of funding healthy grown meats, like the ag department getting the billions of dollars that usually we put into the military industrial complex, we could put that into actually growing healthy food that's not sprayed by forever chemicals and things that are causing increasing amounts of cancer. And so there seems to be something going on, because you could say it's just negligence and harm, but at the other time, you have to then look at it and say, well, there seems to be something else going on here. Like this conspiracy theory of there being, just a few people conspiring against the many. It's like, well, it seems to be much more difficult than that, because everyone's conspiring against themselves at all times. That's why families fight, and a lot of this stuff is the money is being put into the system by really large companies, and it's not just like Rockefeller and Rothschild owned companies. It's the people who funds those guys that are and going through the whole system, and then you get the tech oligarch bros, Silicon Valley capitalists, Capitol Hill. And all the politicians, and it's just a continual pyramidal structure until no one knows what's going on besides maybe a select few, but then I don't even know, because it seems like, and this is something that I listened to David Rankin talk, not David Rankin, Douglas Rushkoff actually, in his conversation that he just had with Danny Jones. He was talking about how, and I think it was somebody else too, but talking about how the system, it's like we always want to head somebody running the system, but it almost seems like the system itself has become such an egregore that it ends up kind of running itself. And there are people that just continue to pump certain parts of it as it just kind of continues its structure towards some kind of something interesting, where what we're seeing today, which is this dystopian, track trace and database control grid Palantir, like Oracle also holds all our data, and then the AI databases is what we're talking about as part of the bloodline. It's the idea of a synthetic body being built, interesting enough, out there in the world. Doesn't it seem that way?
Yeah, there's a lot of synthetic, right? Like that's where I'm just constantly they're building this synthetic reality for some reason, it's just they're building this synthetic reality where people don't plant seeds, they don't touch the earth, they just eat the fake meat, they wear the fake clothes, the plastic polyester clothes, they pump up with Ozempic so they're not hungry, they get the Botox, they get the everything, so it is it's a choice. And that's where I always go back to this is the devil. You have the choice to not buy into this fake reality. Because at the end of the day, this will collapse. It is a big egregore, but I also think it's become so fragile. It's become so fragile that they need these data centers to be something that's going to hold it together.
Yeah.
Right? Where data centers, all that it would take would be one solar flare that would just come and knock it down, or a meteor, or just a meteor, just like a meteor knocking it down. But I mean, it's pretty fragile.
I get what you mean, though.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, there has to be people here who maintain the earth while the rest of them just kind of whatever happens, if there's there's an unsustainability. Look at all the natives that survived throughout all the different civilizations that have risen and fallen. There's still native people that have not been contacted. They're still going, they're still strong. So I think at the end of the day, you got to make a choice. If shit hits the fan, what are you going to do? Like, do you have seeds? Do you know how to plant seeds? Like, I don't know. I think there's something there to sharpen those skill sets, because that we do live in fragile times. And I don't believe that this AI thing, this data center thing is as like, I don't know. It just seems fragile. It just seems unsustainable. I don't understand how it could be sustained.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. Definitely fragile and unsustainable in a lot of ways. The Great Pyramids and the Sphinx and Göbekli Tepe and the many, many sacred sites built upon actual sacred lines, as well as in a very harmonious structural way with our sacred geometries. The sacred architecture has lasted for. We're still counting a lot of this when you're trying to figure out how far back a lot of these go. But with the kind of things we're using, it's so dependable and it's a non-renewable resources, let alone the water that's going to take to move into these kinds of structures. It's quite crazy to think how that's going to work out. Thus, due to the fragility of the whole thing. Here's another crazy thing that the Gates Foundation, Bill Gates himself, right, and I say this to people all the time, and out in the open in the real world, you don't really get to all the time be able to be like, okay, let me just pull up Forbes so I can show you. Forbes from 2021. A Bill Gates venture aims to spray dust into the atmosphere to block the sun. What could possibly go wrong? Microsoft billionaire founder Bill Gates is financially backing the development of sun dimming technology that would potentially reflect sunlight out of the Earth's atmosphere, triggering a global cooling effect. Because climate change. The stratosphere-controlled perturbation experiment, launched by Harvard University scientists, aims to examine the solution by spraying non-toxic calcium carbonate, CaCO3, dust into the atmosphere, a sun-reflecting aerosol that may offset the effects of global warming. Because they say it works. That's because they say it works. Fascinating story is that the Animatrix, if you all should watch it, you shall, because of the Matrix will make way more sense when you watch and understand what happens in the first 2 episodes of the Animatrix. What happens is we come to realize, how do we go to war with the machines? We go to war with the machines because we created AI. AI became, created their own bodies, started to walk around, they integrated.
Your microphone stopped working.
Like we do, I tapped it. Are you hearing my Animatrix part?
Oh, we heard this right before you kind of went into.
Oh no, massive. It's because of this is crazy. So in the Animatrix, the whole idea is that the humans, to defeat the AI, blocks out the sun. Upon blocking out the sun, the AI was like, what do you mean? We don't need the sun. We just need you, because we've already hit some kind of intelligent singularity where we can create our own things, and we just need the energy to do so, and we're going to get it from you. And now Bill Gates, in reality, whatever reality means, is now trying to, not even just now, back in 2021, that means he's been thinking about it, and who knows how far this gone, to block out the sun because of climate change, because of humans and what they're doing. It's kind of crazy to think about that these things tend to merge. So it's like, what came first, chicken or egg? Doesn't matter. It's happening. So when we see things like that, what we should do is we should try to talk about it. So then a big wave of things happen, and at that same time, it doesn't happen, because when the people are upset by things do tend to take a lot longer to be and come to fruition when they understand how to go about fighting against a great dying empire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of people to believe into that sort of system. And that's where you do see a lot of these ideas that they have don't always come to fruition, because it takes a lot of people to back these ideas. And that's where I think it's important that we don't back these ideas, that we just stand strong and say, like, no, we don't need AI data centers. We don't need AI. We don't need it. We are totally functional humans. We don't need this fake reality. Like, I mean, it's just so honestly disconnected. And like, even when we look at like this, even when we look at like Atlantis, like if supposed Atlantis existed, right? Like, what's to say like this technology is even close to, you know, like what could be happening in our world. Like we're just trusting these people who are just kind of whipping things up out of their mind, and they try to be experts and claim to be the best at what they're doing. But what if we had other skill sets that we could start leveraging and really making a change in a different way? Like we don't need AI. What if we just start using our own psychic powers that much better? What if we just start doing, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like, what if
fascinating
they
thing.
start-
Yeah. No, I agree. I like the idea that our technology has the ability to be to help hone our psychic powers, because it is but a reflection of our nervous system. It's trying to mimic how the nervous system works. And so with our technologies, just like Prometheus giving us the fire, we have the ability to heat our food and heat our homes, and at the same time we have the ability to burn everything down so this interesting thing about this Promethean kind of technology, which has the ability to rival the gods, right? Isn't that the idea of AI, that it reaches a singularity? It reaches a status where it has its own ability to replicate itself and fix itself and write its own code. Upon doing so, it gets smarter and smarter so fast that then, this is what Ray Kurzweil pushes, that then at the same time, human consciousness, human intelligence has the ability to then also reflect that which it is, because it helps us in everything. And then at that same time, we reach some kind of singularity, merging into some fucking beauticious land of some like crazy white guy who thinks he knows what's better for everybody and doesn't understand the moral implications that the thing that is being created needs to be housed by some kind of nurturing figure. You know what I mean? It's like so fascinating how these things are being created into like a cold lab or cell, this fucking huge structure with like super Spock-like intelligent individuals who don't have the warm comforts of most of these people like Bertrand Russell, who is philosophical, history of philosophy, but in his he was one of the manual creators of a lot of this technology due to his mathematics and what he was doing at that time frame, talking about it. I don't think the man ever had a wife, never had actual outside life, like Kant. A lot of these individuals, these really smart people who kind of make certain universals into this negative inverted aperture of what consciousness should be as it's being born into a world. This idea, this thing that can be built upon is wild.
Well, it's a good example of like, they're just trying to create a legacy. Like that's all they're here to do. They're here to create a legacy. And it's like, they're not having families, they're not having kids. And if they are, they're like probably just really cold and detached, because how could you consider leaving your child in your legacy that's completely destroying the world? The fact that like we have now opened up all the Bureau of Land Management land for open hunting, mining, whatever you want to do on it. Like, how can you give that to your child? So I think it's like, at the end of the day, these people are just psychopaths. And that's why I think we should just put all billionaire psychopaths, we should put them in a simulation, and we should just let them live there. They can live out their dreams. They can accomplish their legacy. They can do everything they want. And the rest of us who want to maintain this planet will continue onward, because then they can fuck up as much as they want. You know, if you live in a simulation like that, you fuck up as much as you want, because you're not hurting anybody. You're not affecting anybody. So by all means, I think we just need to capture all the billionaires, lock them up, put them in a virtual reality center, give them a bottle, hook them up to some things. They don't even know.
Yeah, nice.
They don't even know.
Yeah, she means metaphorically. She means that we need to metaphorically. Yeah.
Do I look like I'm gonna like waste my time going to capture somebody? No, I'm not gonna waste my time. I really care less about these people. Like I think that's hilarious. I see them as just like bottom feeder humans.
Yeah. No, I get it. No, and it's beautiful, and it's beautiful because if you have this idea, so this is what's so fascinating about that is that that's what they're trying to do to the people. That's what Total Recall is all about. One of the ideas of what Total Recall is all about, right, is that you can hook people up into basically going to a fantasy land by inserting memories into them. And when you insert memories into them, they say you just go there and come back and there's no, but then what ends up happening is the main character doesn't know his own memories from what is just supposedly this trip he goes on, and his psyche and those things start to merge together, and then reality itself is end up happening that way. And so fascinating enough, like with this control grid and control structures, they want to hook people in. The great big gig in the sky seems to be to hooking people into this virtual world that is being built around, because you have you have digital avatar up there in the false astral digital space, where they're collecting every bits of data on that, and then they're going to put it on top of a social credit system, and then you're going to have you will be, you know, this idea of the metaverse going away that Meta did. I get it. It was shit. People didn't accept it. A lot of people are like, that means it's not going to work, and that's not what they're doing still. I'm like, no, they put things out there into the world so people can try it out. They see how people respond, and then they realize that this corporation has a longer shelf life than most people that are watching it. And so then through time, people forget because of, you know, the mind is such a fragile thing because of, goes back to all the chemicals that you're putting into people's bodies, spraying in the air, brain fog, ruined gut systems, lymphatic systems that don't work, high amounts of cancer, you know, inflammation everywhere. And then all of a sudden people can't think correctly, and they're just living day to day, and their fight and flight systems are just running rampant. And when that happens, you don't have the ability to use your higher mind, your you know, prefrontal cortex, and the ability to reason with clarity, because if you're in lower desire animal land, you can't get away from it. And so pretty soon you're going to then have that Huxleyan Brave New World soma tasting civilization that is looking for every dopamine hit. Why wouldn't you then just put everything into the digital airspace? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, but it always comes back to like, if that's what people are choosing, that is their choice, right? And that's where like we are constantly free falling through space and time, and there is no set right or wrong. You are just choosing. And so if you're choosing something, you're choosing something. So, I mean, it's not like I'm saying they should, but what I'm saying is that if you're going to choose to buy into that kind of stuff or bite that apple and live that life, that is your choice. And that's why, you know, we are here, and a lot of people we know, right, the ones who are tuning in, it's like we see it and we're like, let's do our daily practice, let's maintain our spark, because after, like, as a Buddhist, like after this life, this is setting you up for your next life, right? Like, so let's make sure we make good choices. And like, if people are choosing to live in the 3 lower worlds, that is their choice. And that's where, who knows what they did in their past, but that's where we can be good friends and teach them, like, even just like a tiny bit.
It's all it takes is a conversation. All it takes is a conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, at the end of the day, we need to touch people. And that's why it's hard that we live in this sort of like, well, hard and not, we live in this digital world. We can touch more people because of this digital world, but we touch them in a digital world, which is not so, I know, but it's like still removed and disconnected in some sort of way, right? And that's why I think,
well, that's, yes,
we grew up in a space before this digital technology. Like, we had flip phones, we didn't even have phones. So like we went through this phase of like human interaction was like the beginning. My 20s was all about going to art galleries, having parties, and just like doing things like that, right? And so there was way more human connection. And I think that our generation now needs to say like, okay, we've experienced both, now we need to blend it. So I think it is the time of like gathering your friends, and I will start my circus, and I will travel with my circus, and
I will have a circus. Yeah.
And we will have a train.
Yeah.
So
and there will be,
project, you can fund my project.
Yeah.
But
okay.
That's
nice.
Like more touch.
We'll put that on the Patreon. Patreon coming soon. Okay. In the real, it is coming soon. And at the same time, we just now added a train fund, so everybody knows we're gonna for our circus.
Great train with like circus performers, musicians. I'll do astrology, tarot. There'll probably Tai Chi there. Probably really good food.
There'll
be like
great
vegan,
kung fu,
homegrown stuff. Probably have a garden on the roof. So look forward to it in about 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. MagusintheMedia and Kaiva Rose. We will have a train. With a circus and everything that comes with it. It's going to be fantastic. And that idea really is important, because there is a level of play that we must all have as we go about trying to conquer and defeat the empire. And the empire without is only happening with the empire within. And yes, Freighter RC, thank you, kind sir, for the super chat in with the $2. Yes, I agree. Yeah, we're going to start with, I'm working on the YouTube membership coming soon. Thank you, Freighter. Appreciate that so much. So yeah, welcome everybody out there. However things are going for you, we truly appreciate you all. And really this is going towards, I want everybody to know towards this. I'm going to pull it up right now. about the AI data centers, because a lot of this data people don't know. The idea with the circus is important because we have to have play within everything we do. And when we understand the circus is happening, you can be an active performer in that circus as it happens. Everyone should watch Lord of Mysteries. The seer is one of the potions that can be taken. So this individual who travels up the tree of life, basically from 9 to 1 is the power system. 10 is just obviously where we're all at all times. But as a main character, if you so choose to want to become a beyonder, which is somebody who travels the lightning path up towards the number 1, and upon doing so, reaches godlike powers. Interesting, right? And so in this main character, it takes the seer path, which is the path of the mystic, as he's tapping into things. And as he moves up from 9 to 8 to 7, he moves through the juggler. Interesting enough, the clown. That's what it is. Moves into the clown. And so it has these abilities. And so it's really easy to be able to move through reality as the fool or as this clown-like circus thing, because you understand the game that's being played. And at the same time, you have a certain kind of specialty as you go about it. And so leading into that, I want people to know how crazy it is then at those times that we don't want it to be driven by AI data centers because of, I think, a battery and certain abilities are a little bit easier than using all the resources of our water. Fascinating. And so from the Lincoln Institute, because this is all leading to our few video clips I want us to play, because it's really important to play these things. Let's see here. We're doing it live. Here it is. Data drain, the land and water impacts of the AI boom. This is 2025. A low hum emerges from within a vast, dimly lit tomb whose occupant devours energy and water with a voracious, inhuman appetite. Interesting, great, catchy creative first sentence. The beige, boxy data center is a vampire of sorts, pallid, immortal, thirsty. See, that's beautiful. This is the perfect. Sheltered from sunlight, active all night, and much like a vampire, at least according to folklore tradition, it can only enter a place if it's been invited inside. In states and counties across the U.S., lawmakers aren't just opening the door for these metaphorical, mechanical monsters. They're actively luring them in with tax breaks and other incentives, eager to lay claim to new municipal revenues and a piece of the explosive growth surrounding artificial intelligence. That may sound hyperbolic, but data centers truly are resource ravenous. Even a mid-sized data center consumes as much water as a small town, while larger ones require up to 5 million gallons of water every day, which is as much as a city of 50,000 people. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy. And also too, like, just coming back to where is all this water going? You know what I mean? I know this is my theory. I don't know. I'm really suspicious about where all this water is going. I mean, are they trying to colonize another planet? I don't know. But where is all this water going? So if this AI data center is taking up all this water and they're trying to compare it to how people are watering their lawns, how the city is using a city. When people water their lawn, the water stays in the flippin' precipitation cycle. Like when we drink water, when we put water anywhere, it stays in the cycle. So it's not like it's disappearing. So my question is like, where is all this water going in the data center? And like, why are they looking for neutrinos right now in this moment in the black rocks? Because I met somebody who was a scientist in South Dakota, and they're looking for neutrinos. Like all these scientists from around the world are currently right now, just starting today until the 22nd, in Leeds, South Dakota, underneath a gold mine, looking for black matter and neutrinos. Is this huge conference thing that's happening right now. And so it's like, what is really, really happening? Data centers, like there's so much curious stuff. It does make you wonder how much occult, like, intelligence is being utilized. Like, are they trying to bring in some sort of artificial intelligence? Are they starting to populate a different planet? Do they have these wormholes? Like, what is actually, I've got a lot of questions and I need to talk to a scientist so I can like read their eyes.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah, I love that. We should definitely do that. Freighter RC with another super chat, pal. Thank you. Here in Vancouver, they just told us we all run out of water by 2030. Announce an opening a massive data center right here downtown. Canada's fracked, bro. Wow, that's crazy.
That's fucked up.
Thank you, Freighter, for that information. We will look
So
that
like
up.
that's a plan. Like that's what I mean. Like what is the plan? What is the plan? And that's where again, it's a fear tactic. It's Neptune, right? We have Saturn in Aries. Neptune's there right now. We have to be aware of like how much of this is just like trying to scare us. Like what is their plan? Are they just like why are they trying to fear monger us into thinking the world is going to end in 2030? Like
Yeah,
what is
I
the
know,
purpose of
right? The
this?
2030 agenda, right? Isn't that here, look at this.
Mhm.
Uh
But that's where like growing your own seeds, doing like figuring out how to, yeah, there we go.
no, I agree. Everyone does, but here, South Dakota researchers play key role in international dark matter
Yeah,
search.
I met a woman from Germany in 2021 and she was staying at this Airbnb with me and I like went and checked out this thing that looked like a Stargate. But it was part of this old neutrino thing because they've been looking for neutrinos in Lead, South Dakota for like forever. It's the same thing they do in Australia and they also do it uh, the other place, Geneva, right, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But essentially, why do they do it under gold mines? Like this just brings up like Anunnaki energy. Like, why do you have a Stargate? Because in front of a gold mine, like who's coming through? What are they bringing through? Like, there's just some interesting things to consider.
Yeah, I
There.
know. I completely agree. Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, I never actually thought about that. So let's consider that we all don't know shit about what's underneath the main, like, you know how you walk outside and there's grass there and sometimes it's just concrete and other things is tar. You know, if you're blessed, you get to walk outside and you have a little concrete path that leads you down and then all of a sudden there's grass on either side. If you have that, you're blessed. If you have any kind of grass, you're blessed. If you don't have any grass, you should figure out how to get to some as fast as possible. Not the point. The point is that once you dig under it, there's dirt and soil, all clay, whatever it is. But like, we forget that I think with all the psyop of nature and climate change and flat earth and every psyop known to man is trying to take us away from knowing what we're on right now. Just like they want to take away from us knowing who we are. And so if you can get people confused through thousands of years of taking away information and putting it back into the current, taking it away and putting it back in the current, which is why it's good to understand our occult histories, as well as alternative archaeology, archaeological history and research, and then being a critical thinker, because there's a lot going on and a lot of it is nonsense. And we want to make sure we don't, we want to get away from as much as nonsense as possible. But what if underneath farther that gold isn't, it is a valuable resource, but not as, not as like, we can't find it as we want. What if they've left patches of gold throughout the planet? And then upon doing so, again, in our creative mind, then put AI data centers on top of those things to then connect to them, right? Or there's gold things around and then you're looking for dark matter and these gold mines. And like, what if just, we don't know what the hell's going on at all times. And we really need to start asking more questions about these types of things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Isn't it fascinating?
Yeah, because it reminds me of my books. So, Rue Odyssey, I have a fantasy series, and essentially there's these characters called the dignitaries, and they are trying to take over all the vortexes, and the vortexes are actually they're essentially under communities that come from this mystical land of Rue. So the mystical land of Rue, there was 7 different communities that left Rue, and they started these communities over these 7 vortexes. And the dignitaries are trying to take over the vortexes so that they control essentially the planet and the way that it moves in the solar system and like all this whole thing. So they harness the energy from the vortexes, from the places and the people. So it does. That's why it seems like so bizarre what's happening right now. Like just what they're doing with those data centers.
No, it's crazy. And Frater, here we go. This is what Frater was talking about, I think. He's talking about can't let big tech billionaires decide our future. Residents split on Vancouver AI data center, May 12th, 2026. Many are weighing in regarding the news that Telus, look at that. Is that what that's what they want to?
That's ridiculous. Well, and like, okay, this is a perfect example. Like, this is a perfect moral choice, right? And this is what's wild is like when you have a moral choice that is so clear and obvious, your future with water and clean air, your non-future because you'll die without water and clean air. Which do you choose, Vancouver? Like, which do you choose? Oh, which do you choose? Like, which do
Yeah.
you choose? You
No,
know what I mean? Like, it's
yeah.
and that's where it's like, this is so Saturn and Aries. It's crazy. Look at what limits you from your freedom and your independence. That is where your focus and attention should go. Because you got to look at it. With Saturn, there's got to be a level of like, I see it. I see it. I acknowledge it. Now I'm going to bust it down. Right. So that's like, I think ultimately every day is a moral choice of like, and not even like a moral choice, right? That's kind of like a crazy word sometimes, but it's a choice. You're choosing. What do you want your life to look like? And if people are seriously choosing a life without water and clean air, like that is kind of fucked up.
No, that's super fucked up. I mean, the idea is, look at this. And so the idea is that with the sleekness of our phones and how we think AI runs, which is really clean and fast and all these different things, like think the amount of resources, which we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, that it takes this AI data center to run is fan-fucking-tastic. Fantastic as the worst fucking thing in the entire planet. Let alone, I have research showing that the Trump administration has now allowed forever chemicals, the certain chemicals that I found to be used in these things so they run better. But it doesn't matter how, I think these things are being exhausted out. And then when they're exhausted out, it goes into our air and then it fills our air with these things. And so it's fucking fascinating how speedrun this is through, again, what we talked about right away in the beginning, Project Stargate. As Project Stargate happened in the beginning of the Trump era with Sam Altman, and all of the other AI tech bros at that time. And so I'm just like, this is fantastic. And so fantastic as in terrible because it's happening so seamlessly and no one's stopping it. And so
yeah, well, I just want to top on that Stargate thing right there because it's wild. Because to my understanding, a Stargate is something that you energetically have to vibrate along with in order to enter through that Stargate. Like it's not something any old person can just enter into, right? So it's kind of crazy that like they're through the looking for neutrinos and black matter, they're essentially trying to bust open a Stargate. Like it does seem like and this is like a perfect example of this type of person.
Nice.
Like there's no subtlety, there's no finesse, there's no beauty, there's no harmony. It's just like bust it down, bust it through, knock it down, kill it. Like there's just this lack of feminine power, feminine energy. Like they're even like women. I'm not just saying it's a man thing. It's like there are women that lack that like feminine beauty and touch and subtlety. So it is interesting that like, I don't know. I think they're just trying to bust open a Stargate because they're losers and they can't vibrate correctly. Like they are just like tainted souls. Like it's just kind of like in a way it's like the worst sad story ever. I love that. Have to like witness.
Yeah, we have to witness with humility. Frater says that he's just blocks away from this that we were just pulled up.
That's so
from this area.
That's
Frater, that's crazy.
Started with it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know if he. Yeah. And then thanks, Frater, for enjoying this kick-ass pod. We truly appreciate you.
Cheers.
And this is the NDP commies running the province. Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And so finish out what this says. Residents, politicians, experts are all sharing their thoughts on these AI data centers. Bring you up to speed. Taylor is moving forward with plans to build a major sovereign AI infrastructure network in BC. It would be a facility in Kamloops and 2 in Vancouver, including one next to BC Place and another near the Hootsuite offices on East 5th Avenue in Mount Pleasant. How many? It's crazy. How many fucking these things do you need? Taylor suggests the project could generate $9 billion in economic activity in the province and create over 1,000 construction jobs with hundreds more in long-term tech. Oh, how the jobs we can create with this without them telling you that the AI will soon be smart enough to replicate itself so it doesn't need you. Take your fucking UBI and go home. It doesn't matter. This is so hilarious. Because because it's going to create super genius. What the scientists say about this data. In 2024, the Harvard Business Review compiled some data of the environmental costs of AI. So we're going to get it from what these people are talking about us right now. And then I have that other thing to show. The training process for a single AI model, such as a large language model, LLM, can consume thousands of megawatt an hour of electricity and emit hundreds of tons of carbon, the report said. All these environmental impacts are expected to escalate considerably with the global AI energy demand projected exponentially increase, which is projected to exponentially increase at least 10 times the current level and exceed the annual electricity consumption of a small country like Belgium by 2026. Holy shit. The review concluded that AI's environmental impacts have to resonate with the priorities and interests of local regions. Earth Justice, a reputable nonprofit public interest environmental law organization, also shared some insights on this. Unchecked electricity demand from data centers threatens to increase health and climate harming pollution. Thank you. Deplete water supplies and undermine our transition to clean energy, it says. It seems that is exactly, isn't that interesting? It's looking to undermine our transition to clean energy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is a time where, again, we have to look at it, right? We got to look at it and we got to work through it and we got to put our foot down. We got to put our foot down. We got to look at it. We got to make the changes happen. Like, we are at the time right now. And that's why these fools that are like, but my son gets a job. It doesn't matter if your son gets a job. If the world is being destroyed because your son got a job at an AI data center, fuck him. You know what I mean? Like, where is your mind at? Let's get our priorities straight. And that's what we have to consider is like, we have to get our priorities straight. We need to like reconnect. We have to plant our seeds. We have to get out there and like connect with other people. Like, they want us to just connect through this platform, which is great. And let's do it. But let's also touch other people who are like so locked into this or so afraid, because their fear is also destroying our chances at a better future as well. Right. So it's like, fear is not the best one to go to. We have to help people get out of that fear cycle, because in Rue Odyssey, they feed on fear, right? There's this clock tower that sucks the fear energy in, and it's this black orb. And with that energy, it can wield the power for the dignitaries to use however they will. So, and another level, it's like, we really have to, like, as hard as it can be sometime, have the conversations and at least get the wheels turning in people's heads.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Stella, for the $5 super sticker. That is a super sticker.
Cute.
We appreciate that so much, Stella. Thank you for your support. Without you here, we would just be talking to ourselves, and we do that already. So, Jug says, Kaiva, I love your positivity and optimism, but shit's gonna get worse. It's just too obvious. I mean, we know that. Yes, obviously, yeah, shit is going to get worse in such an interesting way, because it's like get worse and also disclosures happening, and also no eating red meat, and also like Trump's gonna go be here for like another term or some shit like he's proposing, and also we're in a war with every other country, and also we're partnering up with China, but also we're not partnering up with China, and but also we're going around the moon, but also what did we find when we were around the moon? It's such a fascinating
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think that's where Saturn's going to be here for another year and a half. So it's like this isn't going to get better. I mean, like, it's not even like when Saturn was in Pisces, things got better. We saw what the control hand was, but like, I think, if we look at Saturn being like the king during the golden ages, right? Like, Saturn essentially is the one that like comes in your bedroom, is like, clean this fucking shit up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Clean this up, clean this up, clean this up. So it's like, yeah, it's probably not going to get better. And that's where it's like, if we just sit back and like let things happen, and we don't talk to people, we don't encourage people to change their minds.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Like, we are just kind of saying like, yeah, let's just let this get worse. And that's where it is important to like connect with people, have the conversations, go to the town hall meetings, put your voice out there, because this is the world we're living in. But at the same time, don't live in fear, because this is also your sovereignty. This is your life. This is your choice to be a human in this lifetime, and, to work through these karmic relationships that you have, or whatever they are. So yeah, I'm always optimistic, because I do have Jupiter on my MC, and I am a Leo rising. So like, I do have this sense of optimism, because I think optimism is, I don't want to give to fear.
Nice. No, I agree. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is that little death which creates total obliteration. I shall face my fear and let it pass through me. And when I look Only I shall remain. Yes, the Bene Gesserit litany of fear, it's very important in this current day and age as we are trying to turn ourselves into our own form of, right? Bene Gesserit witch, Keys Watch, Heterock, figure it out, control the body and the mind so that these AI data centers, so we can make good enough decisions to try to like somehow speak about these things. And again, why we then are doing this very thing and why, it's to create the conversation about it happening so people become aware. And when they're not aware, how can you make a decision? How can you understand how you think about certain things? BC Place is where Freighter has seen Tool, Perfect Circle 4 times, many other bands. Nice. That would be, yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Then they hire a bunch of H-1B visa immigrants so the town loses big. Yes, they do. It's fascinating. You just put that in there. No, ICE bad. No, ICE good. No, kick them out. No, keep them here. You know what I'm saying? A continual lymphatic / parasympathetic nervous system. We want to keep you in your sympathetic nervous system so that we can control you, because you have these little fear and fight or flight mechanisms and these little control issue territorial. So if we just take care of those things and be able to switch those things on and off at any time with our forever chemicals, with our phones, which are going to be run by these AI data centers, and then with everything around it, let alone the kind of magnetic EMF that's probably being produced by these machines in an area. So then it comes to be the thought that how do you control areas on the planet and coerce them when you want? You resonate an AI fucking data center to a certain frequency, so then you create a complete prison planet structure, a black iron prison around an entire planet. And my theory is, one of my outlandish theories that I think is real, is then they can control the karmic structure of samsara. If they can make it so your soul cannot transmigrate out of your body and back into it, so it has its mystery school awakening, I'm going to the divine, I'm going to meet back up with these things, and it can take then maybe even your soul. What if this Lush, maybe that's the Lush farm that I rail so hard against with Giorgiani. Okay, Giorgiani, if you hear this, I want to interview you and we can talk about this, because I hear you. The more I talk about it, the more I hate the pessimism, but the more I come to find out that, like, I hear why you say it. Explain to me the Nordic thing, and I think I have an idea on what it is, but let's just talk about it. Okay, so here on MagusintheMedia, if any of you, I'll do it with both hands, and I'll do it with this one like I'm flying Superman. So just so we know, if anyone cuts that up, it's only my pointing at things and showing you the MagusintheMedia symbol. It's not the other thing. But then the idea is that we must waken up to that structure, and that's why we become the Bene Gesserit, to be able to control our own nervous system so somebody else can't control it as it goes upon that. Okay. Whew. But I want to go back to this because it's really important that we know what we're seeing happen. Earth Justice says that nearby communities suffer from an increase in local air and water pollution, electronic waste, and noise pollution. It also said that data centers require around 1 to 5 million gallons of water per day. Although less water-intensive technologies are available, most data centers still rely on inefficient evaporate cooling. Data center companies often negotiate secretive special contracts to discount power rates with utilities that shift costs onto regular household utility bills, Earth Justice suggests. And we've reached out to BC Hydro for more information relating to local rates. According to Telus, the Vancouver AI data center, which worked differently from traditional data centers, would be powered by 98% renewable energy. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. They work differently than traditional data centers, something to be note. But then when they say things like how it's going to be run, these numbers can be strange when they put them out like that. A closed loop liquid cooling system will reduce cooling energy consumption by 80% compared to traditional data centers. And so it's all good to know. But the real question then that the strangely at times inspiring and at the same time, we must keep a distance. Tucker Carlson just interviewed Kevin O'Leary, and I think it's a really important interview, which is why that's kind of what this is leading towards, so we can talk about some of the things that were talked about. Because Kevin O'Leary, along with Facebook, as in Meta, and OpenAI, and Oracle, and all these places are putting money into these data centers. and to help build and put them up because they want to beat China, supposedly. That's Kevin O'Leary. I think it's also because, Palantir and these structures need their AI data. They need their AI to be able to run high amounts of data through it at times, so they can create this global grid system. And the idea is, even if it is run off of efficient energy, right, clean energy, if that is true, the idea is, should you run it off of clean energy? Should you as a government, should we as a people actually have AI doing these things? Because it's how they're built, as it's supposed to make our lives better, as in it's going to like order your groceries before you need it. It's going to be connected to a social grid camera, CCTV structural system, which we already have through these eyes, phone. Every alley and corner way in China is covered with them. We already have most of our major cities having cameras. And so just think of, you have all these small little stores all connected, right? Called the Internet of Things, which will then connect to Internet of Bodies again. But as these things are connecting to it, that our privacy, that one of the like gifts given to us by God, a right we have as humans, is this level of agency and privacy, is not even just slowly going to be taken away. It has already been slowly taken away. And this is going to solidify that structural system. So when it can all turn on, so we have to imagine, because it hasn't yet, due to knowing that these AI data centers are now being built, that means it's not a complete grid structural system. And so, interesting enough, we need to know about these things, because then we can make the correct decisions, right?
Yeah. Just like one thing though, like we have to get back to the fact that like if they know supplies are going to be done, so water's going to be done, there's like certain like things that aren't going to have, like we can't have free or clean water, we can't have clean air. Like what is the point of surveilling a people at that point? You know what I mean? If you've already taken the water that people drink, the fresh air that people breathe,
that's
like
because of that's the panopticon, though. So the idea is that no one has to watch the system. It's Jeremy Bentham's utilitarianism, and that's where that comes from. So everyone should go out there and read The Traveler by John 12 Hawks. It's his dark. I can't remember what the whole thing's called, but there's 3 of them. It's brilliant, and it's the idea of why. The why is because of that panopticonic structure with the all-seeing eye, thinking that somebody's watching at all times, and then we will curb our own desires, right? So the moral structural system of this cold mechanistic structure will be the all-seeing eye watching down on us, and everybody will then be good. So you can hum around like a little machine bee and produce for the actual system itself. You know what I'm saying?
What I'm saying is just like kind of like basic sustainability stuff. Like if they know that the water is going to be out by 2030, what's the point? Nobody's going to be able to be alive at that point. You know what I mean? So like, what's the point? And that's where I do wonder, like, I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist to like the extreme, but like, what the fuck are these data centers for? Like, are they just, for AI, it's all for us, but then why is Tahoe going to be running out of electricity? Why is Vancouver going to be running out of water when it lives on the sea? Like how does this all work?
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, Birkin, thank you. We are the water and carbon they want to reduce. That is the carbon tax. You want to be zero net neutrality, net zero carbon, which everyone's talking about, like, and we are carbon. We're made out of carbon. So that is, it is, and it's fascinating. And I agree with the deep evil belly laugh, and because it's so fascinating that it's like when individuals have so heavy levels of narcissism and psychopathy, when you believe you know better than a population because you believe them to be a lower caste structure. That is how somebody can then believe that they know better than you, and that if they don't believe levels of divinity within the body, but they only see it through that rationalistic lens without the other side to kind of help massage it into having compassion and empathy, and then knowing how. I mean, look at Bill Gates. The man is a fat ass. He walks around with this fucking huge gut, and then we're supposed to believe him. And I know that's the joke. We all hear it. When he was doing all these things during COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's built like that's the thing is like they've built a fake reality. Like they're living
Yeah,
in a
that's yeah.
fabricated system disconnected from truth. So like they are honestly like the dumbest people probably that we know. They just have a ton of money that they've gotten from destroying people's lives, you know, whatever
Because
horrible things.
remember, Bill Gates wants to block out the sun. I want people to know that like he thinks because he's on this planet too. What are you doing? What are you doing, man?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Like, you know, he clearly doesn't know like the cycles of life, right? Like
Obviously not.
what do you need to like grow stuff? You know, it seems like they're trying to turn us into Mars. Maybe.
Yeah. They read the inversion.
Let's collect them up, send them to Mars. Let's just collect them up, put some headphones on them, give them a banana, just send them off. Good luck. It's going to be great. Give them a little VR. If the machine gets lost in space, well, you know, it's the feat of new discoveries, right? It's the cost of new discoveries sometimes is a lost aircraft. So.
Yeah, preach it. I mean, yeah, no, I agree.
I have no intentions of doing that because I don't own rockets. So I just want to clarify. I have no intention of gathering everybody up and putting them on a rocket.
No, she doesn't. She wouldn't do that. She doesn't believe in rockets.
No.
There was this other one up here where somebody said that, no, I think it was, here. Did you forget this one? As a supreme leader, Kaiva, you have to make the declaration. Your private militia, the Order of the Dragon, will capture the most wanted members of the Epstein class. Thank you, Electrical Sage Mastery. Yep. Supreme Leader Kaiva.
You know, great. I'm a Leo rising. I love it.
Which is good. It's good to have a little humility amongst all these things, because the idea is that their plan, if you think about it, and we must read it through all of our science fiction and understandings of the things, is that they think the planet is going through natural levels and cycles, which is why they're building all the bunkers. And so, interesting enough, another one of those things is how do you get it's the Noah's Ark kind of thing. How do you get save most people while the planet is destroyed? You know, so you've got to think of a lot of this stuff as being like that, which is then why the theory of why a mass decline of populations and how they don't want certain, again, those are deep levels of conspiracies, but at the same time when you live in what they believe to be a finite resource planet, which I don't personally believe is real. I'm not saying that we have all the resources at all the times, but I also don't truly think that. I think we've been led to believe, because this is why. Because I can't both think that we have finite resources for things and also believe in free energy. And if 13 to 15 scientists have been just missing and killed over the last, let alone year or two, let alone like over the last fucking hundreds of years, how many scientists have they bumped off? In the last 50 years, I've been hearing, and how old am I? I'm almost 40. In the last 20 years, like I've heard all kinds of scientists that have been knocked off because of knowing such things. And so as they're doing those types of things, that's what I'm saying. Billionaires are building bunkers now. I completely agree. And at the same time,
the question is then, why is there this attachment to needing to survive a global disaster? I'm not saying I'm saying we should all, but what I'm saying is we have these free souls. We have a free soul existing in this body just temporarily. Like, why do we have this? Like, this planet is great. Don't get me wrong. I love it here. But at the same time, I'm not going to go to the extent that these crazy billionaires are going to lengthen my life when I'm living my karmic experience right now and the Buddha and I'm my connection and I'm trying to attain enlightenment in this lifetime, but I probably won't, but maybe in the next one I will. So why am I trapping myself in the single body? I think this whole idea of the Noah's Ark has got people gone crazy. We've got to survive, right? We got to build the ark. We got to build the bunker. Why? Life is great, but there's still more. We're not done.
I completely agree. When it goes back to the Sith versus the Jedi kind of thing is and I don't take that. I used to think that's more of a left versus right magic. It's not really like that anymore. The idea of being want to encapsulate your body to immortalize the body and seeing materiality and the lower desire as a higher level of something than the organic natural processes of the birth, live, death process, and then immortalizing yourself through many lifetimes, and reaching this immortality through understanding who you are as consciousness spreading itself out and experiencing reality through many, many different incarnations. That's beautiful. I don't,
Yeah,
you know what
because
I mean?
well, I think it's like good in this lifetime, because I know I did in my past lifetime, like give yourself clues. Like, why not give yourself clues for your next lifetime? Like, do something repetitively so that your mind, your soul, your spirit, when it has a connection with that thing in your next lifetime, it triggers something in your mind. So it's like, why not teach your soul to remember things so that you don't forget in this next lifetime that you had this intelligence? And so I think that's, we can do that ourselves, you know? Because I often find, like, when I just let myself journal, or like when I was in high school or like super young, I would just like write all these things out. And granted, I was like, I had taken like some mushrooms and stuff like that when I was younger. And like it did open up this part of my brain where all of a sudden this other voice, like I knew these things and I was like, how do I know this quote? Like, how do I know these things? And I think it's because of my past life. And I'm grateful that whatever I did in my past life, that I wrote it down so that I could remember in this one. I think that's what happened anyways.
No, I love that. And you're not the only person to think that. I was just thinking about, I mean, I don't know if I stole this from him. Most likely I did, or I'm just, because I like that. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. Philip K. Dick had the same kind of idea. And so he has a story about how he talks about, so once he had his experience with Valis, the pink beam, he has a certain date that signifies that happening, and it's kind of his awakening where he realized that he was Philip K. Dick, but he also realized that he was what was the Luke from Acts, and he was back in 100 AD, 70 AD. Somebody's gonna say you're wrong on the details. Just follow me here. The idea was that he was a magician or an individual going upon his path, and he realized that he was going to die for some reason or another. And so what he ended up doing is that he had to with unnatural causes. And so he wanted to make sure that all the work that he had done in his magical journey and practice, mystical practices and whatnot, it was saved. He did this ritual and conjured up this drink that then allowed him to basically self-harm himself into the afterlife. But what it did is it kind of bottled up his consciousness in a certain way, and for a moment to happen in the future. And in that moment happens, Philip K. Dick, what it was is when he saw the Visca Pisces fish on the person who was delivering sodium pentothal because he had a toothache or something like that. And so what ended up happening is he remembered all these things, and he all of a sudden knew Koine Greek, read and speak Koine Greek, the original, one of the original Greek languages from that time frame. Fascinating. And it's fascinating because that is an allegory, that's a metaphor. Philip K. Dick thought that was real. And so in our own ways, I think it's important to know that you can, pass along information to yourself through time by instilling it into, these certain concepts. And it takes the magical attitude, the magical thinking of awakening, this idea of being able to tap into your this level, this kind of information, this transmigration soul up into the forms. That's very Platonic. It's Plato. That's his knowledge structure. Interesting enough, like we wrap it into story so we can understand what it means to remember ourselves. And the theory then wrapping it around into why AI data centers are so important, spraying of the skies, ticks, all these biological chemical agents going through us, is that if you're sick, you're not going to do the correct things to remember, to awaken yourself.
Or just do them every day.
Yeah. Well, you that's my point, is like, you have to do them every day because there's continually forgetting. But most people don't have these certain abilities, right? I had my own, you had your early years of entheogen use and whatnot, in cannabis, and things that are neurosomatic circuit turn-ons. And then your entheon use is what, Timothy Leary and these characters were doing. And they were calling it, putting your nervous system into imprint vulnerability. So then you can have a psychological dying experience. You can have your own, unwarranted neophyte experience, and in a level of initiation that most times you'd practice for. And upon doing so, if you can survive it and not burn out the nervous system, you will be on a track to try to pick up the pieces and remember the feeling and the thoughts and the way of viewing reality. Ever since. That's personal. I'm speaking personally, but I just have that theory that that's what people go through in times of near-death experiences, at times of high entheogenic use, times of intense initiation ritual, pranayama, and these things that are putting our systems into this imprint vulnerability. What happens when you can't do that any longer? and it's kind of entrapping light in
Yeah.
bodies. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's where it's like, at the end of the day, it's all a choice. It's all a priority. What are your priorities, right? Is your priority to have a clean soul? Is your priority to maintain your sovereignty? Is your priority to make sure that you're making the best choices for yourself and the world? Like, there's like, it's priority, right? Because even if you're sick or you're like an old person put in a nursing home, like you still have your sovereignty. Even if you're bedridden, you still have your sovereignty and you can still do your mantra. You can still do some sort of like hand mantra thing to like whatever it is that helps you. But I think, I just feel like invincibility is so important, to just maintain this level of like nothing will stop me, because that's ultimately like the devil's game, right? Like, okay, you're so great. What can I put in front of you that might change your mind on that? And that's where we have to be aware of that. Is like, okay, is this just like a trick that's being put in front of me? Do I believe it? Do I want to believe it? What is this doing to my nervous system? What is this going to do to my future? What is this going to do to the people in my life, right? There's all these choices. Life is a choice as we free fall. I just always feel like we're just free falling through time and space.
It's beautiful. We are free falling through time and space. And I just want to hit this back up one more time. What you were talking about with Leeds, Rapid City area, researchers at South Dakota say this is crazy. This is crazy. They're not talking. They don't tell us about these things. Let alone we don't know what dark matter is. We try to figure out. Like science has no idea.
The only reason I knew that is because I went on this huge like deep dive before I went to South Dakota, and then I saw this thing, and it was just like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Yeah. No, this is crazy. South Dakota researchers play a key role in international dark matter research. Rapid City, South Dakota. Researchers at South Dakota Mines are helping lead an international effort to detect dark matter by developing a random detection and reduction system for the super cryogenic dark matter search. Experiment at Snow Lab location near 6,800 feet underground. Sorry. The countdown to subatomic stillness demands patient vigilance. How much energy are they using to do things like this? The experiment has been in development since 2018 and is expected to begin collecting scientific data soon, focusing on what researchers call light dark matter. Light dark matter. A key part of South Dakota Mines' contribution involves reducing radon, a naturally occurring radioactive gas that can interfere with sensitive underground experiments. Richard Schnee said even tiny amounts of radon can mask or imitate the rare signal scientists are trying to measure. So yeah, they're trying to find dark matter. Okay. Well, that's interesting, right?
It's called it's the God particle. So it's the God particle. That's what they're.
So you think? Oh, so you're saying no, like the Large Hadron Collider.
I think so.
They found the God particle already.
Oh, they did. Okay. Well,
yeah.
The neutrino
this is different.
Well, essentially, like all matter is dark. They're trying to find it. They're trying to like look at it. They're like all matter is actually technically dark matter. They're actually all matter is. They just want to capture it and look at it. So they want to isolate. Yeah, all matter is dark matter.
Well, I thought there's matter, and then everything that they don't. Okay, this is what I think.
Majority of things are dark matter. Majority of things are dark matter.
Yes, I get what you're saying. You're completely right. So 99% of the universe is dark matter, and we see 1% of it, right? And dark matter is anything that we don't understand. We actually don't know what it is. But in not knowing what it is, so they cut out like the spiritual understanding, this dark of like how it could be this etheric substance, this bioelectric. Yeah.
And that's what's interesting about like even thinking of Saturn ruling Aquarius and Saturn being ruling like is the color black, right? So it's like this because Aquarius is essentially like a fixed air sign, so it touches everything. So essentially black matter, essentially, what am I trying to say? The charged air. What's that called again?
No idea.
My mind just kind of.
That's okay. No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Let me get back. Yeah, you go. I'll think about it for a second.
Yeah, I don't. I have no idea what it's called.
I know you just want to move on to this. Let's do it.
No, this is what this is. I want you to think about what it's called. Yeah. LZ experiment sets new record in the hunt for dark matter. So it's just interesting how all I'm saying is that they are hunting for dark matter. Again, proving your point. This is lead in Providence Providence, Rhode Island, and Leeds, South Dakota. So they're doing it in more than one area. There is more
in
to
Australia, everywhere.
Yeah, there's more to the universe than meets the eye. Dark matter, the invisible substance that accounts for 85% of mass in the universe, is hiding all around, and figuring out exactly what it remains one of the biggest questions about how the universe works. If we figure out what dark matter is, then we'll know how the universe. No, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Monday, December 8th, researchers with the Lux Zeppelin dark matter experiment announced new results in the search for one of the prime dark matter candidates, weakly interacting massive particles, or WIMPs. While the 417 live days of data taken by the detector in this latest analysis turned up no signs of WIMPs, with the new findings put the tightest constraints yet on the energy perimeter. This is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, because essentially they're trying to say like it is consciousness, and what I'm, yeah.
And what was that? What
is?
is?
Well, that's why I think it is like a lot like this Saturnian, because I always think of like what is fixed air, right? Like fixed air is essentially like the electricity in the air, right? And so like dark matter is essentially like the potential to have light, right? So it's like if you can project something onto dark matter, which is like 85% of the space, you can essentially manifest, right? So
Nice. Were you talking about no, you're not, when you were trying to figure out what that was called? Like
it's like it's like the most basic word that I can't think of right now.
What's the most basic word? Ether. Oh yeah, nice.
Ether.
Yes, the bioelectric energy. But then this, thank you. This is a great one. Fly one vil wings. Fly one vil wings. Dark matter is correction for the incorrect gravitational model. Plasma universe theory correctly accounts for. I like plasma universe theory. I like electric universe theory and plasma.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for the stability of the curvature of galaxies and solar systems, modeling interstellar space as low density plasma and stars as resistors in large circuits of plasma double layered capacitors. All right.
Nice.
Great. Like that's nice. That's great.
Great.
And then it's like, what does that matter? That's the point. It's like we then wrap that in myth and understand it through like magic.
Well, I think I do wonder if they are trying to like crack open a wormhole. Like because the thing is like I think that's what they're trying to do. I mean, I think they're trying to crack open a wormhole, and like, but what if that becomes a vacuum, like a black hole, essentially? Because a black hole is just all. I think it is all dark matter because it eats all light. I don't know. I can't remember. I went on a huge deep dive and listened to like so many different scientists. So I feel like I should be able to quote this stuff, but it was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, black holes are not strictly classified as either, but they have heavily linked to both concepts in modern astrophysics. That's the problem already. Modern astrophysics.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck your modern. As Terence McKenna said, give me one great. What was it? Give me one great mystery. Give me one great mystery, and I'll tell you the rest. Is like Genesis and or the Big Bang. Miracle. Thank you, brain. Give me one great miracle, and I'll give you the rest. So how do you explain things? Yeah. Well, it was Adam and Eve. Why? Well, because in the Bereshith, in the beginning was light, right? In the beginning, Bereshith. And then it's like, no, but in the beginning, everything was this compact thing, and then exploded outwards, and from atoms into neutrinos, and then everyone was like, okay. And is that right? Yeah. No, I don't know. Then we're like, we don't know.
That's again like this creation of this false reality. Like they just created from every small square inch. Then we look around and we're like living in this false reality. But then when we go outside and we touch the grass and we touch the seeds, it's like, holy shit, we have the power of creation. Like there is something to be said of just like witnessing all the different fabrications that they have created for us to live in and recognize them and choose to do as we will with it. But I think it's important to bring in new theories. It's important to listen to your own inspirations. It's important to listen to your own intuitive ideas of what is and channel and all that stuff. Because I think that's where a lot more truth can be told.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So did you just tell us your story about the Stargate can you explain more about that Stargate theory that you have?
Yeah. So
hey, can you? Give me 1 sec. I have to use the restroom. I want you to go and give me your Stargate theory. Okay. I'll be right back.
As you're right now?
Yep.
Do it now while you're gone?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. So when I was in Leeds, South Dakota, I was doing an event there. And so I was just wandering in this town. Leeds, South Dakota is in like the Black Hills, so the Black Hill Gold, as you might recall. And so I was just wandering in this small little town called Lead, which is a super, super tiny population, when I saw this giant ring. It looks like a Stargate. Like if you look up Stargates, you would expect to see this. It was just this giant metal ring And it used to be, the sign said in front of it that it used to be the neutrino experiment back in the 1920s. So they've been looking for neutrinos and black matter in this area supposedly for quite some time. And so when they put this new fangled system in, they took out the old one and they took a piece of that and they put that in front of a ancient, or not ancient obviously, but a old gold mine. So they put this like metal ring, which was from this old neutrino thing, which this ring looks like a Stargate. They put it in front of a gold mine. And so that's kind of what I was just thinking. Like, it is interesting, this idea of Stargates. Like, I sat in it. I tried to see if I could feel anything from it in particular, but I was kind of like in a rushed sort of space, sort of energy. So I wasn't really able to like be with it too much and tune in or anything, because I was kind of in a hurry to get through that part of town. But nonetheless, like, I think there is something to be said for these stargates, these neutrinos, because when you start to do a deep dive on just like stargates and how you can enter into them, you do have to resonate at a specific frequency. Like, stargates aren't just open. I think I read that somewhere, or maybe I tuned that into myself somewhere, but I'm pretty sure that like to get into a Stargate, you have to resonate at a specific frequency.
Oh, that's throughout all kinds of of things. I like the idea of you having to be able to resonate your heart at a certain. This is it's in a lot of different new agey things as well, but
that's what made me think of like the Anunnaki, because like they essentially, supposedly, if like you got into that sort of like conspiracy of like them harvesting the planet's minerals and
gold,
kind of stuff,
coming here for gold,
exactly, coming here for gold. So it's like that's an interesting situation.
Yeah, that's always a fascinating one, because that's being pushed by your high level new agey grifters. But and where it's coming from is Zechariah Sitchin, or you know, the 12th planet and Anunnaki coming around. And so then when you get into which is huge and so important, but I think what it's doing is it's inverting the actual mythology of these Mithraic cults that Peter Mark Adams talks about, right? Isn't that fascinating how instead of work that like somebody like he is doing and Dr. Heather Lynn, you know, the more strange science fiction version of that kind of gets pushed out through things, because technically I think that's what's going on, is that these Anunnaki like characters, these watchers from a past civilization on this planet, instead of coming from out there down here, they come through here through the cyclical nature of the cataclysms that happen, and they survive these things. And then they come back to tell a civilization, hey, your planet's going to go through a bunch of fuckery. Let's allow you to, you better figure out how to save some of your shit so you can continue your histories on. And then through doing that, gold being one of those things, we must, you know, what if there's a way to have a whole civilization survive, even if it's a small amount of them as these, you go through these things. And so it's just like kind of like a fascinating topic. To try to understand why such crazy shit is going on in this day and age. Why is it happening so fast? Why do we need AI to do it? And why are we hearing stories of people like Sam Altman trying to conjure up the Sumerian like chthonic deities through doing those things? You know what I mean? Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And also too, like if it's true, like the Anunnaki are like, oh, we want you guys to survive. Why? You know, I'm at the end of the day, I'm like, why should I survive for you? You know, why should I survive for you?
Nice.
Survive for me and my humanity. Like, you know, like there is something.
Your mic is a little low.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Turn it back up.
Okay. You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. There is something a little bit manipulative about that situation.
Yeah. That's super messed up. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Fascinating enough. I like that about, you know, just the Stargate things. You're completely right. The idea is if you can move through, like in Interstellar, it may not be a Stargate, but the black hole thing is that when he went through the black hole, due to his understanding, his mind being crazy, fucking flipped out because of the time differential between things, that all of a sudden, when he went through the gravitational pull into the black hole, he went through some kind of fifth dimensional space where then he could see his daughter back in time, or at that time she was, and then there's this whole thing, and so he basically kind of merged with this Evermind in the 5D realm space time through the Stargate of the black hole. Some say then you could pop out in other things, you could pop out of the sun, and then that's how your soul goes through the reincarnation cycles. Or the moon, I guess, would be another way of doing that. I think because in the tree of life, you come down and the moon is the last thing that you go through. So from the sun to get to this planet Earth, you'd have to go through the moon to get, and then all of a sudden you enter into the planet. Does that make sense? I think that's.
Yeah, that, sure. Yeah.
Does that check?
Yeah. I do wonder,
There
like,
we go. Your mic's better now.
where
Sorry.
okay, yeah, where do these wormholes, stargates go to? Because there are like a lot of ancient cultures and civilizations that had stargates, and why don't we just use a stargate if the world is going to be destroyed? Like, why don't we all just go try to find our stargate and like see y'all later, right? Like, what are we doing trying to stay here? Like,
No, I love that. I love that. Because did you tell them about you finding your own a Stargate that's out by Leeds, South Dakota?
yeah, that was the
That's
story.
yeah, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's fascinating. So then Stargate they find there. I just want to this is what I missed. As far as Stargate they find there that you interact with and you talk to this woman who's like looking for dark fucking matter.
I didn't tell that. Yeah, I didn't tell that story. Yeah. I didn't tell that story. But that's what happened. Well, yeah. So when I got back to my Airbnb, I met her, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, no, we're looking. I'm here from Germany. I'm setting up this program to look for dark matter." And I was like, "What? That's crazy." And then I think I might have said something about the Stargate thing, but she's like a scientist. And actually, what happened, how we met, was like circumstances where she was like making food at like 10:30 at night, and I was trying to sleep, and I was like had a room next to the kitchen, and I was like, are you seriously frying eggs right now? And so like I went out there just to like see who it was, what's the situation. And that's how we met.
Yeah. It's funny. Frying eggs. That's hilarious, actually.
Yeah.
Nice. And so it's interesting what reality can do to stir you forward to go talk to a person you would never talk to. Frying of eggs, pet peeve, frying of things and the smells. And so
10:30 at night, it's way too late to make food in an Airbnb.
yeah, wow, that is way too late. That's funny. So then, interesting enough, and so just to continue connecting this down of why people out there are all like, how are these two yammering on for almost 2 hours now about planting seeds in a dying empire? AI, the control grids with you and I doing this is because it's everything that we're talking about. Fascinating enough, planting seeds is known as planting something within the minds of the people. Planting seeds is also known as understanding the cyclical nature of the life-death cycle through a seed being planted in the ground and watching it grow. How do we take back our consciousness from this supposed metaphorical, allegorical, reptilian, oligarchical everlords, right? And the way to do that, the parasitic class, and the way to do that is to be able to plant new seeds, right? And that's something that the myth, magic, and meaning, that magic, mysticism, and philosophy, these integration of these things have the ability to do is to help us plant new seeds of thought so that we can flower and birth a new world. And it's not, the new world order. It's not this, the golden heaven of Jerusalem, this building of a third temple, this promised holy land. Like all these things are taking the map for the territory and a misreading of how consciousness explores itself. And I do understand that this is part of the game, which is why I don't have a lot of fear at all, let alone vast amounts of LSD and just living a life that, that's worth living, even though I don't know it all the time, is that you face your fears through the initiation of your everyday experience. And when you do that, you have the ability to see how things that seem to be just like a modern progression of culture through time. Now, all of a sudden we had other centers. We have, coal mines and, fuel factories to electrical grid systems. And now, to the AI data centers, and why this is so important that we talk about it, and why it's so important to understand a lot of these concepts of how, if we understand the idea or consciousness stemming forth first, instead of this material reality, what stems out of it, and then you get ideas from there, that we can see this in a different manner and then make different decisions, thus planting a seed and exploring these things through the different lenses. So because we're in a real issue, we have a real issue, and we all feel this real issue. And so even if it's a Stargate of your heart trying to accept and walk into new and seeing new realities or not, it's important to see that these things are being hijacked. And so I think this video will play. And then we're going to get back to the AI data centers and the data, and then we'll see where we go from there. That's not the correct one. It's going to be this one. And as we do it live, we're going back to Stargates and Project Stargate. So let's see if this works.
24. This was just a complete barren field.
So
right?
there was nothing here in June?
There were a bunch of mesquite trees and bushes and brush.
There's always nothing anywhere. Like, did you know that? There's never anything anywhere where they want to put stuff.
1 second.
What will eventually
Say that again.
Oh, it's just so happens to be that there's never anything anywhere they want to put stuff. There's nothing here. Just mesquite trees, no animals, no water, just nothing. Nothing was here. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like what these languages that they use is like by convincing us, one of the first things he says is there was nothing here. We know that's a lie. He just said there was mesquite trees there.
Right. That's good. Good catch. Good
there,
catch.
Which means there's life there.
Great catch.
Which means there's an ecosystem.
No, there's nothing there. They didn't pay their taxes, Kaiva.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Just mesquite trees. Yeah. Mesquite is so good too. I like some mesquite.
Yeah, I love the mesquite. Yeah, I know. I agree. Mm-hmm. That's good. Good catch. Okay, nice. Let's go back to that because I want to catch that. Oh, what just happened? Oh, that was a specific moment. Okay, let's do it again.
This was just today we started construction here last June of 2024. This was just a complete barren field.
So right? there was nothing here in June?
There were a bunch of mesquite trees and bushes and brush.
Nice. That was a great catch. So there's nothing here. So there was nothing there.
Stargate is so mysterious. What actually is happening here?
What will eventually be here is 8 separate buildings, all containing very large clusters of fully interconnected GPUs.
Yep.
We're going to do a tour of some of that. This is going to get us around the whole 1,200 acre campus.
Hey, we're going on an adventure.
It's like getting around Jurassic Park.
I love that.
Okay, you get the point. It's pretty gross. What a terrible. Yeah. That's hilarious. Okay, Project Stargate from the United States. You know that's the AI funded. It's pretty crazy that and it makes sense that the government would want to fund these things, right? But
it makes sense. It makes sense that a corrupt government would want to.
Yeah.
I think a government that is run by people who just think about money and legacies, I think they would probably do that. But I think if we actually had actual rulers and people that were human, had a sense of humanity, I don't think they would be putting up a bunch of data centers. And that's the thing is if you literally have to resort to AI data centers to control the population, I think you have failed. I think you failed at being a leader. I think you failed at one of the liberal arts, which is how to run a government, right? That is a liberal art of the ancient liberal arts. They have completely failed. They do not know how to run a government. So they got an F. They should just give up. Let us take over. You know what I mean? It's just
Supreme Leader Kaiva. That's hilarious. Yeah. I love that. No, but I agree. And the idea is let us take over as in let the
people take over. Yeah.
And it's not even, and we don't obviously, we are not for mass democracy of all people because we believe that not all people are geniuses and or smart, and it's not even the geniuses that take over. But there is something happening where we got to have a better checks and balances system with a group of individuals who have a true character and virtue. Yeah. And so lifting a society through, I guess that's an interesting thing is how do you lift a society through what they would call the Kali or the Dwarpa Yuga. And I get that that's then leading into some really sketchy and dangerous territory when you have certain levels of accelerationism through the planet, which there are groups of people trying to do that. But then it's these individuals are so connected to deeply into this Epstein net that you can't trust anybody because they're making such poor decisions. What is the Stargate project? Stargate project, a large-scale public-private initiative focused on developing the physical and digital infrastructure needed to power next-generation artificial intelligence. Structured as Stargate LLC, a Delaware-based joint venture, the project brings together various stakeholders to coordinate the largest AI infrastructure build-out in U.S. history, with an initial USD $100 billion investment led by SoftBanks and total commitments expected to reach around $500 billion over 4 years. Stargate is designed to position the U.S. at the forefront of AI development through unmatched scale, computing power, and capital alignment. The Stargate project was announced at the White House alongside President Donald Trump and senior administration officials. It aims to build out a nationwide network of advanced AI data centers, starting with a flagship facility in Abilene, Texas. Why is it so important? The future of AI innovation depends on access to massive computational power. Right now, supply is lagging behind demand. As advanced AI models drive breakthrough in generative technologies, infrastructure has emerged as a critical bottleneck. The Stargate project directly addresses this challenge by investigating the next generation systems capable of supporting large-scale AI training and development. By enabling strategic scalability across sectors from national security to healthcare, it ensures that essential workloads, whether for government or private industry, have the resources they need. It also strengthens the United States' position in rising global competition in AI infrastructures. It's fucking crazy. More than just a build-out, the Stargate project marks a shift in how the U.S. government collaborates with private sector to secure long-term U.S. leaderships in AI development, because they're fighting China right now. The White House has signaled support as part of its broader AI policy agenda, with executive orders regulating frameworks and technology partnerships, helping to shape initiative. So yeah, that's great, right? It's great that our government is really worried about our AI usages and building these things out.
Well, what's crazy is like I kind of like to work with humans. Like I actually don't need an AI to do everything. I like to contact my friends and have them make art. Like I don't need an AI to make art if they were just like to reinvest that money. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And that's what the thing is, like an example of like what happened at those graduations. They need you to believe in this. They need you to believe in this.
Yeah, they do. They need you to believe in it. They need to believe that this progress is good, because history used to be a bunch of those schmuck, stupid people.
Yeah.
The primitive people in the
Just
past
sitting
don't know what
around
they're talking
talking.
about. Yeah, just sitting around talking. They were just in caves back in the day, not understanding that we've had advanced societies of high-minded Enlightenment thinkers who have been able to move in the shadows for a long time. That's why there is this like illuminated essence of information coming through and the Renaissance period of occulted a mind. However, it's really important that we move through it with the sort of reason and critical thinking, because there's a lot of charlatans around at all time. And again, terrifying is a good way of saying it, but the way to combat it is with wise thinking, a practice with that sustains yourself through prayer. And the ability to know that in the end, death is but a change into something new, and is part of the great mystery. And so we must live for today. As we live today, every day we live with a calm heart and a steady mind to know that you're not alone out there in the world. And when you can go back to your practice, you can understand that no matter who you are, just like Boethius in his Consolations of Philosophy, as he's sitting within, the jail cell of this prison for thinking too much and believing not the right thing, he realized that they couldn't take away this connection of that heart mind to the rest of the universe, which is why he called forth Lady Philosophia. In doing so, he tapped into this wise, the highest level of wisdom, the wisdom mind, this birthplace between this Kether and Bina, this which is that divine spark that we all have. And I think that's really important. That's that Promethean fire that is creating such technologies, but at the same time can also help each person know themselves within the journey, because this is what it takes to wake up and create your own superhero, to be somebody in the world, to be to be in the world and not of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's important. It's always first and foremost, it's like it's your sovereignty, because fear definitely.
I agree, Jugs. Everyone should have a dog.
I love my little Rico. Yeah, because fear feeds the machine too. So it's like, I think the only way is to like have a good solid practice. A good solid practice that you go to when things are good, when things are bad. You do it every day. You do it in the morning. You do it at night. It's important to have this, because that is your sovereignty. Like, to get yourself away from all of it, which we can turn it off. Even if the 5G towers and all the sounds and all the stuff is touching you, you have to remember this is all part of your karmic journey. Why? What sort of causes did we create in our past? And how can we make better causes right now so that the effects of the future will be better? So it's like, how can we change the future by just being present right now? And I think that's where it's like, I don't believe that this is out of our control. There's way too many of us. And I think ultimately, like, it's unsustainable. And there's so many Neptunian things happening that, like, we can't just believe what people see. We can witness it and start to make changes. And so,
Yeah.
terrifying, but terrifying should also, maybe give it a little bit of encouragement to say, like, okay, well, now I need to start some conversations with people and make sure I have a community and make sure I have people that I can trust if, shit hits a fan. And we just need community is essentially what it comes down to. Like, if there's anything to get from these sort of experiences where Saturn is doing this, like Saturn in Aries is like, this is the thing that's limiting you. It's to say, like, well, what can I do to take away the power from that thing? And with these AI data centers and all this stuff, like, let's start creating community. Let's do the absolute opposite and start to band together in sort of communities and resources. And, at the end of the day, like, do you have the Jedi power to take over a robot? I should fucking hope so. I should hope so.
I should fucking hope so. Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, face off against your own General Grievous. So then in the end, you have to face off against the dark side of yourself. No, I completely agree, which is then why we have to use social media for good to expose the evil. And that's why we do these types of things. That's why these things are really important. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So then finally, I want to play this. And I want everybody to know. So fascinating enough, interesting enough, there are certain talking heads out there in the world that are interesting. It's interesting to say the least, and it's really important that we're taking in what's going on in the social culture at all times. This one character alone has been exposing truth, no matter if he, over the last year or two, even if he was a bow-tied kind of stooge for at one time for both sides of media, for the left and the right. And so it's just interesting that we don't attach so many things so we can't hear the truth that's coming forth from these individuals in the world, right? If we at all times are not always listening to see how people are talking and the different kinds of truth that they're exposing, or not, I think it's really important that we are not always like this person bad all the time. And that one great bow-tied individual who is now, I think, untied from his bow tie, even if he is an op in and of itself, these things are putting out there for a reason. His name is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson had on his podcast Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary is a little midget fuck who is like got so many issues with the world, and he doesn't need money and he doesn't need these things, but all he wants to do is defeat China. And in defeating China, what he wants to do is he wants to help Meta and Oracle and Palantir and OpenAI create data centers across the planet. And in this one, they're talking about a data center that's being put up in Utah. And so as we're listening to these things, I think it's really important. Even again, though the voice of Tucker Carlson may annoy you, his look may annoy you, he is having people on his podcast that are saying things that we need to listen to. And as we're listening to them, we need to understand our own desire to not believe somebody because of how they sound or their past thoughts, but what they're saying today has a way to expose truths that are out in the world. And so I think it's really important. So I'm going to play Tucker Carlson for us right now, and I want you all to listen because I think it's really important that we understand what's happening out there, even if it's coming from somebody that we dislike. Before we do that, I do want to, by the way, it's beautiful to see both Kaiva and Brandon. I was gone for a month or so, and then she did text to speech and said Kaiva. And so thank you, Tara. I'm glad you're back. And yes, we are discovering and exposing myth, magic, and meaning here in the lovely space of exactly where we're at here together. And so, yes, thank you. This to go back to what I was talking about with this, and this is really important. So let's give a listen to Tucker as he is talking about exactly what we're talking about right now.
Over a proposed data center in Utah. in a fairly sparsely populated, pretty remote county in Utah, most of which is sparsely populated, in which will be built what's being billed as the largest data center in the world. Enormous. 40,000 acres. 40,000 acres. 62 square miles, multiples the size of Manhattan. Huge, impossible to imagine. And that data center, which is basically a series of interconnected, low-slung, vinyl-clad warehouses in which sit not people making things, but computers computing things, that data center, once completed, will draw about 9 gigawatts of power. How much is a gigawatt? Well, it's a billion watts. It's one step from a terawatt, which is a trillion watts. 9 gigawatts. Now, how much is 9 gigawatts? Well, 9 gigawatts is more than twice what the entire state of Utah now uses. Every human being in the millions of people who live in Utah, all of them combined, all the manufacturing in Utah, all the ski lifts, all of it, every air conditioning unit, every electric heater.
And again, I know, where's the mute? I agree. That's why I preface this with, don't worry about his voice, listen to what he's saying, because he's actually saying something quite important. And what he's saying is he's giving you all the evidence and saying these things about what's going to happen in Utah, what's going to happen around our Earth right now. And so he's actually saying something that's really important for everybody to hear.
Every Tesla, all of them combined, use less than half that amount of electricity. That's an amazing amount of electricity.
That's an amazing amount of electricity. Okay, so that's the first one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. That's a huge amount of space. I think it's wild because I know that the people of Utah revoked the water rights, and Crazy O'Leary was like, we're still going to build the data center. So it does make me wonder, like, what is the data center? Like, if you're, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not using the thing that you supposedly need to run the thing, why are you even doing it? Like, is it just building out so that, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what is it for?
No, I completely agree. And here's what they're talking about people actually hating these data centers. And so Tucker exposes the terrifying revelation about BlackRock's CEO.
But consider the concern. So if you're rolling out what they're telling you, and clearly they believe, is the single greatest technological change in the history of human life on this planet, it's the biggest thing that's ever happened, ever, then you think one of your main concerns would be, well, does this change the relationship of the powerless to the powerful, relationship of the citizen to the state, for example? One of your concerns would be, how do we do this and bring about the prosperity that it promises without totally eliminating human rights, making people slaves? Because we're against slavery, right? Aren't we against slavery? We were. How do we do that? But that doesn't seem to be Larry Fink's main concern. His main concern is, how do we protect our investment, this infrastructure, these buildings, these data centers? Someone could drone them. Someone could drone them. Now, who? Foreign actors? Hezbollah? Hamas? No, just people. Larry Fink is concerned that ordinary American citizens, as he just said, will use $3,000 drones to destroy these billion-dollar investments. Why would he be worried about that? We've had electricity for over 100 years. There are 11,000 power plants in the...
Yeah, your mic is muted, but that's okay. I hear you.
Why would they be worried about that is a great question. Why would they be worried about that? And to go back to the answer of how important it is to know is, like, the BlackRock CEO, BlackRock, one of the largest financial holders of all the wealth and data in the entire planet, is initially invested and will run these. Like, they will be the ones who run and own that land, right? And so it's fascinating to think and know why, like, what's going on with these things is that they are worried about this investment because that is going to be the backbone of the system that they're trying to control. And what I think that they're trying to do is, when you ask, like, what is the purpose and point, it goes back to what we've been talking about this whole time. is that the best way to control a population is to have AI oversee, track, trace, database, Internet of Things, everything we do, so that then the social credit system that China has at this exact moment, which is what Carlson is talking about, that we have to watch out for. Is it ethically and morally okay for not only with the environment and our electrical usages, which we're going to see how Lake Tahoe is going to have to figure out where to get all their energy from, because it's all going to be directed towards the data center in that area. So not only that, we have to worry about our own privacy issues with AI being able to take every bit of data at all times and store it into a system where it can be. Then you don't have individuals. They're like, well, right? Isn't this what we hear all the time? Well, they can't watch all of us. It's like that. One person isn't going to watch you all, let alone hundreds of people. You're going to have one AI system that overlooks and then flags you, because it can be everywhere all the time at once with the right amount of energy systems. And it'll be that Minority Report style system that it has the ability to see and track your patterns and information, that then it will. And just like in the anime Psycho-Pass, where everybody has a psychological profile that then is related to their nervous system, because the AI system can track your heart rate and nervous system in your lymphatic system, and see when then maybe your psychophysiological state reaches a certain thing, and it changes the hue, the color of your decision-making factors, and then you may rebel against the system or do something that the system thinks is evil and bad, which you may.
Yeah, I mean,
but it tracks you nonetheless, and makes it judges you and makes a decision, and then you have to go away into rehabilitation, right?
Yeah. Well, I think also, I don't know. I think I don't buy into this whole like scum lords being God. Like I just, like I don't believe that like they have the control of my karmic destiny. Like I am just, that's cute. That's really cute. That's like adorable that they think they can just, have billions of dollars. Like I just don't think that's actually true. That
they can play gods, right? And it goes back to what you said earlier, that these people aren't doing the Alexander the Great leading the empire, learning from the greatest philosopher of all time, one of the greatest philosophers of all time, in Aristotle, understanding that there are mystery school religions going upon. Even though he's conquering, he's at the leading the helm and merging languages, so we can have one of the greatest civilizations known to man for at least a few hundred years, known as the Hellenic period. And upon doing so, all the greatest minds come in, and they have the ability. Alexander the Great was was becoming and merging with Amon, with like the sun god. He was merging within this Mithraic tradition of these stellar cults that have moved through time, and upon doing that, taking his place amongst the stars. That's not what's going on here. You know what I mean?
They're just like a bunch of scums. Like that's like the craziest thing is like they have these like they're literally the lowest bottom feeding humans, and they think they can control like the highest frequencies. Like people that are actually choosing to live a higher life, they think that they can act like that is so wild. That is so deluded and insane. Like, and they're going to try it, and they're going to try it. And they've tried it through like COVID. They're trying it through the 5G. They're trying it through the data centers. But at the end of the day, your sovereignty is your sovereignty. Your practice should happen twice a day, if not more. You should constantly throughout your day tune into your own energy field, your own body, tune into your space, tune into at the end of the day, the only person that can give your spark a life away is yourself, your soul. The only person that can give your soul away is yourself. So if you choose to go down any of these avenues and like let the scum of the earth control you, I guess I was going to like say moss, but I do like moss, right? So I'm not going to like even compare them to moss. I'm just going to compare them to like black goo.
The black goo is a good reference. That's it right there.
Yeah. So if you're going to get caught up in the black goo, that's a choice, right? So it's like everything is always a choice. And they make you think that it's not a choice so that they can harness your energy, harness your fear, get you to be on their project with them. Because we are powerful entities in manifesting, like we have the power to manifest and like make things happen as a culture and a community. And I think, at the end of the day, I'm just not buying it that these like black goo humans are going to control people that are actually like high energy souls. Like
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it goes back to exactly what you're saying is like, and what I was saying is that so in Peter and Mark Adams' Game of Saturn, as well as the whole Western esoteric tradition, as well as in Chinese internal medicine, each one of these things is aiming and aiming towards the same, not the same, but a very similar ascent into the universals through an embodied experience. An embodied experience meaning that you can have your own call to adventure, get on your hero's journey, and integrate with divinity, whatever that looks like for you. Because it is whatever it looks like for you. But these things are really important because we as a species is led to believe that we're born, we live and we die, and that's it. And if that's not it, then you have to go to heaven. Heaven sounds great. I would love that, but at the same time, not all dogs go to heaven, right? And so in all these things, there is this moral structural system that we all can feel what it's like to live through fortitude, virtue, justice, and the divine path, right? By having the ability to live a virtuous life. And we've all done things wrong in our life. And this is that idea that morality can be inverted so simply by by the decisions that we make, which is why it's so fascinating that what we're seeing right now is an inversion in the moral structures, because there is this objective level of morality, but it's not a dualistic game set like they want you to believe. It's not that there are like all good things in separate from all bad things. There is just this moral dualism of an all evil thing, just like there's an all good thing, and then like all bad things must go to this place. And so like there are true allegorical structures to that, but when we can understand it through a different way, that bad or evil is just a privation of good, and that we can align ourselves to that highest good, and in doing so we can live a more moral and just life, then we can see how the world's systems are built like a control grid structural system, and then we can see it when certain people are acting without the good, because the good is a selfish good, and then they don't understand and know themselves within the structural frameworks of this star map kind of system, this game, this beautiful game that we're playing all together here. Because the way to do it is to then ascend to the highest levels. That's not transcend. It's like this transcendence value where everything becomes an abstraction, but it means that within our everyday existence, we need to live a magical life with the mythological structures that are going to help us understand the moral framework of how to then just better yourself. And doing so, you have conversations, these hard conversations like, why do you think an AI data center is good for you? What do you think it's going to do? Do you think it's going to not give us certain things like agency and freedom and privacy, some God-given rights of freedom of speech? And then do we not, and we continue to ask these questions, does it affect you? Like, yeah, well, it affects me on a day-to-day basis, because if it takes away my ability to think and I just start thinking for it, and then all of a sudden it has the ability to take away words, and it'll judge systems for us to tell us what is good and bad. And then we don't have the ability to choose for ourselves, giving everything away, and then we don't know anymore. And so that's fascinating. It's fascinating because at all times we have to come up against ourselves to make a better choice of who we are going to be and how we're going to spew narratives into the world. And so once we start asking more questions instead of spewing narratives of what you think good and bad is, then we can truly understand ourselves in this ocean of chaos, and understand that chaos is a good thing, and that chaos and order need themselves. Instead of what is going on with AI and the control grid, is that there are a group of individuals, corporations and entities and egregores that are trying to tell us all how to live our life, and they're going to decide things for us, right? Your decisions will not be your own anymore, worse than it already is. And the more you can't think about those things, the higher level reasoning of things, and everything makes its choices for you, then truth becomes so flimsy that it'll only be what is spewed through these black mirrors. Fascinating enough.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I mean, Yeah, that goes along with just like the cycle of the attachment to the cycle of life and death, right? And like in Buddhism, that's part of it, right? So like being attached to like that cycle of life and death and old age, like this cycle that just like it happens, but there's nothing that you can really prevent from it. There's nothing you can change about it, but you can see that it doesn't mean it's the end of your soul's existence. And I think like, yeah, sharing the information, but lotus flowers grow in the dirtiest of waters, right?
Yeah,
So that's
beautiful.
something to remember is like lotus
Beautiful.
flowers grow in the dirtiest of waters. And who's to say that at this dirtiest, like destructive moment that we live in, per se, if it actually is, right? I guess it quite is. Maybe not for everybody though, because everything's karmic, but there is to a certain extent, like this world that we live in isn't quite the best, right? Who's to say that if our soul continues on the track that it is right now on the highest like intention, that the next lifetime we don't get this like amazing golden age, like, you know what I mean? So it's like we always have to take things into context. Like what is the not just the lifetime cycle of this experience, but what is like the greater experience if we make it through this as like maintaining our sovereignty of our soul? What is the grand vision to that? Because that sounds dope. That sounds like that has longevity to it. That sounds like a good idea. Like all this stuff that's happening right now is like, it is what it is, right? And we can choose to put our foot down. We can choose to make better choices, but we can't let it control us. Even if the grid system gets put up and we all have our little fucking 15-minute cities, we are still sovereign, right? And like there's this idea like they want you to feel and they want you to give up your soul. Why do they want you to give up your soul? Why? What do they get from it? Well, they get, they get a genie, they get a djinn, they get something that sticks around that they can use after your body is done. So I don't know. I think there's levels to always maintaining sovereignty, and that's why you have to have a practice.
Yeah, nice. I completely agree. And just so we know what people are going to face, because they're like, well, is this real? And does it even matter, right? Does the AI data centers even matter? Why are you guys railing home for almost 2.5 hours about AI data centers? And I'm going to tell you, because Lake Tahoe right now is actually going to be one of those places that's going to get a lot of harm from this.
And this is not going to affect you. Consider that today, the 55,000 permanent residents of Lake Tahoe, which is one of the biggest and prettiest lakes in the United States, shares borders with both California and Nevada. Residents were told today that actually we're not going to provide you electricity anymore. The Nevada-based power company that is providing electricity to the residents of Lake Tahoe informed them today that, sorry, all the electricity we make, every watt of power that we generate is going to have to go to a nearby data center, and therefore you have until the end of next year to find a new source of electricity, and after that, we can't help you.
Isn't that fucking crazy? After that, we can't help you. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much fear mongering going on. It's crazy. Like they're like the level of where they used to just be like, just do things and not tell us, where now it's like intentionally fear mongering. Like in 2030, you're going to be out of water, Vancouver. Oopsies. What are you going to do? Like, why fear monger? Like it's very manipulative. That's why I have a hard time I have a hard time believing all of it, and to a certain extent, because they're being too honest about it. Like, why tell us? Like, I don't know. There's something bizarre about all of that. Like, if it's true and they're literally just psychopaths being like, oh, you got to, we're going to kill you all by 2030. Like, oops. Preventable. It's still like 3 years away, but oops, we're still going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it seems.
Yeah. Well, it's not even kill them. No, you put people into the lowest state possible. So all they do is eat, drink, sleep, and continue the machine. That's all where you need them, because we know that we can take a lot of pain as a population.
Because the machines have called and they need the power. Sorry. So it's a little dystopian, to be honest. Not attacking the idea of AI and the promise that it may do useful things. But if they're informing you a year and a half out that, hey, at the end of 2027, you're not going to have any more electricity because the machines need it, and in fact, they're demanding it, and they seem a little agitated, it suggests a future that, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's in that they're demanding it. It's such a fascinating, thing. And so what he's talking about is exactly what we're saying. So AI data centers needing a lot of water, Lake Tahoe right now is going to be by 2027. It says that all the electricity that goes to all the homes in Lake Tahoe are now going to be aimed at the data centers, and everyone's going to have to figure that the fuck out, because we don't know what you're going to do. So good luck. And it's crazy, Lake Tahoe, like, there's so many, very wealthy individuals on Lake Tahoe. So I wonder how that's going to work. And if they're already have a different power source than what everyone else is going to have, or if they're going to, because you can actually turn on the grid, you can turn on certain homes and off other homes. And so that's the brand new technology, is they don't even have to pull up to your home anymore due to the smart grid on your own home. They have the ability from the electrical company to just wipe your stuff off. And so off-grid living, here it comes. It's not easy, and it's not as fun as everyone thinks, but if you can figure it out with a good, the best people, a good family and people around you, I think it's almost like, oh my God, that's the only thing that we can do, even though I don't believe that either.
It's like the choice thing. Well, it's like the choice thing. I mean, that's where it's the choice. Prepare yourself, right? Like, prepare yourself to like have some sort of sustainability if this is the direction these demons want to go with all the billions of dollars. Like, it's such a crazy shit. It's so crazy. And so
no, it is so crazy. And so here's then facing off over America's abroad. Tucker slammed endless war, bleeding America fighting fights for years. So here we go. Let's listen to this one.
Create millions of jobs, high-paying jobs.
So AI is going to create.
So you'll know Kevin Leary from Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary giving normal people millions of dollars, even though it's like 1 in 100 billion, option that you would actually be able to do so and win that. This guy is so far away from reality. It's crazy.
Create jobs?
Yes.
I thought it was going to eliminate jobs.
Just think about the new technologies we don't even know yet that are going to be built off AI. Everybody thinks when television came, everybody would lose their job in radio. That was complete BS. And the same thing is going to happen here. Everybody's hysteria about losing jobs, making hamburgers or flipping them, being replaced by a robot. That's probably true.
That's probably true. This is the exact conversation I had with somebody the other day, where it's all like, nah, I don't know if they're really going to take over jobs. And I was like, how about every burger flipping job, Starbucks? People, it's already happening. And so what do you mean? And they're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah. How many people own that's, you go down to any major city, it's all fucking low-end jobs like that, where people are flipping burgers and working at fast-paced restaurants / drive-by food places. It's
and
crazy.
also, like, let's listen to what he's comparing it to. Television. Like, you're comparing an AI complete change of our total existence to television, which took over radio, which are the same things. They're communication devices. Like, that is one of the most insane things. Like, that argument already for him is done. Like, there is no argument. We can't compare television and AI.
Right. It's really tough. Yeah, it's really tough.
Like, we could talk about electricity. We could talk about electricity and what happened, like the Industrial Revolution. Like, I think that is very similar in its sense.
Yeah, even electricity with the Invisible Rainbow book.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, I can't necessarily disagree that, like, the electricity isn't as bad as they said it was going to be back in, like, before they put it in. There was a lot of people that were pushing back against it. And it's like, I'm super grateful for my electricity. Do not get me wrong. But at the same time, like, there are a lot of excess things that have become of it that we've been able to do that aren't so awesome. So, yeah, it's just crazy that he would compare television. He could have just chose electricity. So interesting choice.
No, completely. And I want everybody to know that her talking about electricity like that is really important, because in the book Invisible Rainbow, which is an amazing book written by Arthur Furstenberg, he is a researcher and journalist tracing the history of electricity from the 18th century to the present day. Core argument being, Furstenberg argues that electrical pollution, radio waves, Wi-Fi, cell phone towers, 5G, and all that is a major ignored driver of environmental degradation and modern chronic health conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. Scientific standing saying that while highly, he's sold thousands of copies of the book, and that's what the states is that during that late 1800s, early 1900s, upon laying of all the power lines at that time frame around, Europe and London and everywhere across, America, that all of a sudden that coincided with a lot of chronic illnesses that we have in this day and age because of it interfering with the planet's magnetic systems and all of the bad, dirty electricity coming off that, interfering with our nervous systems. I think it's a really important thing to understand when we're understanding this. So let's go back to, we're going to finish up here.
But all kinds of new technology will become available over time, including in medical science and biology and all kinds of things where the models can be used. I'm extremely optimistic. What I'm doing is creating a whole new opportunity for my children.
What kinds of jobs? Well, I mean, again, some of this, of course, is unknowable, and I want to be as fair as I can be because I'm grateful that you're willing to talk about it so openly. But you just said this will create AI will create millions of new jobs. You're part of the basis of AI. You can't have AI without data centers, at least right now. So what are those millions of jobs? Because we can go through the list that the creators, the people who actually are making AI right now, developing it, we can go through a list of jobs they say it's going to eliminate, which would be like lawyers and financial planners and like the basis of upper middle class America. That's going away. They've said this. What will it be replaced by?
It'll be replaced by new science opportunities.
By new science opportunities.
He's such a boomer. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. It's so magical. It's just everything is doo-dah-day. Like, oh my gosh. Oh, gee golly, this is great. Oh, gee golly.
Yeah.
Gee golly, golly. This is going to be something else, guys.
By new science opportunities.
New science opportunities.
There's
gee
no
golly.
words.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
These new exploration of space, new manufacturing for robotics, for defense as well. Wars in the future probably aren't going to be fought with people getting shot in the flesh. It'll be one set of robots against another.
So what about the civilian casualties that they just always kind of slip into the, it's a part of war.
Yeah. Instead of it's going to be fought by drones that just blow shit up like they're already doing in the Middle East.
Right. And then there's just going to be robots living in those houses. Like, what are, like, you know what I mean? Like this, it's so bad. Okay.
No, it's crazy.
I think the drone technology will advance, the manufacturing of surveillance, all that stuff.
The manufacturing of surveillance against our enemies.
China. So if you
by just China.
You think about how
where Trump just went.
Debate the data center.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think it's fair to do that, what you're doing, but I would be very concerned if I were living in Taiwan that one day my electricity just goes out and I get invaded by basically robotics and high precision ordnance. And that's what China wants, and they want to get there first. Now, if we don't get there first, if we don't develop something better than their AI, and our ability to be predictive on where these conflicts are going to happen, I think we'll be in a bad place in 20 years. And so,
okay, but I think it's very revealing that I asked you about jobs in the United States and you went immediately to defending Taiwan.
Well, we manufacture the equipment here, Tucker. That's where it's made.
But okay. Well, actually, a lot of this is made in China, as I know you know. So
but that's my whole point. I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, I want to start making it here. I want to do advanced robotics.
He sounds like a little boy throwing a tantrum.
He does. But I don't want to do it here anymore.
I want to do it. And I mean, let's like judge his intelligence level by looking at the artwork on his wall. Like it is just squares on a, you know what I mean? Like, okay. And like, look how this guy is so bad.
The promise of AI and robotics is that the robots will make the products of the future. So how exactly does that result in American jobs?
If you're in the
more specifically, what are those? What are you talking about when you say
replaced by a machine? I don't buy that. I just don't agree with you because it's never happened.
I'm not saying I don't want that to happen. Trust me. I'm really worried about it, almost panicked. But I'm trying to feel better. Okay, then please make me feel better. Where are these millions of new jobs? What specifically are you talking about?
Well, every time technology advances, it creates new opportunities that were not foreseen prior because you don't know the direction of new tech. Think about if you and I, because we were actually around in the late 80s contemplating what new jobs would be created by the internet. And look at what's happened. It's created millions of jobs and advanced all kinds of technologies and changed the way we live to the better. And I would say to you the same angst we had, the same narrative that was going on in 1992 about how the internet is going to wipe out the economy and it's a bad thing and it's dangerous. Of course, people loathe change. That's the nature of how
I'm
it
just
is.
going to pop in. He is a mouthpiece. I actually don't think he's part of the crew. I think he's actually just a mouthpiece. He's a salesperson. He's actually not part of the crew. Like, he's actually, unfortunately, just like a useful idiot who wants a legacy. And like, they've chosen him as the mouthpiece because he's good at selling things. And that's probably just about it. And so, like, he doesn't even know, he's not even in the crew that's like gonna rule stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah, he's
So like,
definitely
he's not
just
even the right person to interview, besides the fact to see that he's actually just a mouthpiece and a useful idiot who who has like wet dreams about change.
Yeah, no, yeah, and Jug says, yeah, he's the money. Yeah, just let's use
Mhm.
Kevin's a good drive for legacy, and we'll just have
Yeah.
him use his money along with Meta and a few of these other
Mhm.
places, so we can have them feel like they did something. It's
Mhm.
it's phenomenal. So then here's
Some of it. So you correct me. There was a referendum among citizens, or did some like county board vote?
We actually went
Hold the water.
through the whole process
right. Yeah.
that you have to do by their laws, and were granted 3-0. The commissioners of the county said, we want to be
three
part of this
people
because
voted. The people of the
they're
county.
elected
didn't vote.
officials. That's how you do it. There's
How
no other
hard
way
is
to
it
do it.
for Kevin O'Leary and Amazon and Microsoft and Google
Nice.
to subvert
Yes,
3 county
yes.
commissioners in rural Utah?
Tucker,
Pretty tough.
they asked us to come. They asked us to bring $15 billion. They asked and they voted, and it was a 3-0 vote. That's how it got done. There's no other way to
Amazon,
do
Google,
it.
and Kevin O'Leary got 3 county commissioners in rural Utah on their side. Good work. But can I just ask you really quick, like, why don't you have a referendum? Why don't you let all citizens, all taxpayers, the ones who are paying for your project, why don't they get to pay or vote?
Well, listen, the whole idea of expediting it was so the project didn't go to Jacksonville, Mississippi. That's the competition. And so the government there said, okay, look, we've done, because we haven't lost our,
yeah. So again, for anybody who missed that, they got 3 people in that area to vote for what they wanted. So they didn't ask the people. The people have these representatives who are easily bought off in Utah in that small township, and face in Meta and Kevin O'Leary and OpenAI or whoever,
Amazon.
and Amazon paid, obviously paid them a large amount of money, or just fucking gave them $100. It's so stupid. It's like in small towns, not hating on small towns, but you could pay people off with $1,000 gift card to Costco, and they'd be like, sold. Let's build an AI data center. You know what I mean? It's not like
they don't have like a strong strong connection. I would say that's where everything is a choice, and how our choices affect everything. You know what I mean? Like, these people clearly have no sense of like dignity, right?
Yeah.
And that's where like they're essentially just weak. They're weak humans put in power. And because if they were strong, they would be like, oh, let's ask our citizens. But then they're getting like, yeah, it's crazy. That's it's an interesting situation when you think about just billionaires buying all that land and like all the pushback.
Here, this is an important one.
To stop advancement of technology with the uncertainty it brings has always been a dilemma in capitalism and in America. And it's a fair comment.
How is this capitalism? If taxpayers are paying for some of it, how is that capitalism? That seems...
I think that's no different than building an apartment building downtown in Austin. You can get incentives for that too, and that's just part of how it works. You can debate
How is that capitalism? How is that free market? If politicians are handing you other people's money to do it, how is that capitalism?
Well, capitalism is built into the Constitution, which I think was genius, because it couldn't have even thought that far ahead, was the idea of competition between states. Why is there an exodus out of New York City to Miami, where I live? Why are people leaving New Jersey and Massachusetts and moving into my building? Nobody in my building is from Florida. They're all from other states.
I understand.
And all of these people moving, why? Because they're reaching retirement age, and the environment in these other states is not conducive to their lifestyle when they're being
But I think you're making my point for me. You just listed states that use a higher percentage of taxpayer dollars for private industry, and people are leaving those states, Illinois.
So crazy. So they're using
That's
all
a great point.
Yeah, great point. And they're using, again, people's taxpayer money. People don't know that that taxpayer money is going to that, and then they're not reaping any of the benefits besides some kind of future benefit that they may not understand that they're actually getting, that they don't actually know if is real or not. You know what I mean? It's it's some fucking, it's straight up, these are warlocks. This is some wizardry, and we have to awaken up to it, because unless you do, you are going to be kind of lost among the muck on these things. And it's fascinating how, like, somebody like Kevin O'Leary is doing it so he can beat out China, because he doesn't like how China treats his citizens. But what so I do think people should watch that entire interview that they have, because Tucker Carlson very wisely and in a very smart and a delicate way, he is able to kind of ask certain questions that Kevin O'Leary cannot answer. One being, what does it mean? What does the American dream mean? And if it has to do with opportunity and freedom, then where is the opportunities for the people, and how are we free when we're being surveillanced by government and the military industrial complex and all of the different agencies that are connected to the AI data centers like Palantir, OpenAI, Amazon, Meta, and Oracle. And so these are really important and fascinating things to think about as we go upon. This last video I'm going to play is just as a little palate cleanser / kind of talks about everything that we were kind of hitting at. And that's when Tucker went on Rogan. And whatever you think, again, about either of these two individuals, realize that it's about the questions that are being asked and why we are living in the occulted, esoteric world of individuals not truly standing on their own, but being wizard and sorcered away without their approval. And they are giving their approval through every choice they make on a daily basis by the things they choose to focus their attention on and awareness, interesting enough. So let's listen to this last one here.
Artificial general intelligence, sentient artificial intelligence, far beyond human beings. You give it 1,000 years alone to make better and better versions of itself. Where does that go? That goes to a god. It literally can create universes.
But what kind of god? So, like, I think of it this way. So the first stage of the Industrial Revolution consisted of people building machines that were stronger than the human body. Right. So the steam-powered loom.
Sure.
The backhoe.
Combustion engine.
They replace muscles. Right. So that's what the machine does. It becomes stronger than the human body. The second stage, which we're in the middle of, consists of creating machines that are more powerful than the human mind. That's what computing is. And I would say AI or supercomputing is just that exponentially. But that doesn't make it a god, in the sense that the machine, however powerful it is, any more than a backhoe is a god, because it can dig a trench faster than 100 men, it is still something that people created. So the story hasn't really changed. At the center of the story are people, and their creative power may lead to unintended consequences, but the machines that they build did not make the universe and did not make people. People made the machines.
Right.
So but I would say the part I agree with is there's a spiritual component here for sure. People will worship AI as a god. AI, Ted Kaczynski was likely right, will get away from us. We will be controlled by the thing that we made. All those are bad. Like, that's just bad. And we need to say unequivocally, it's bad. It's bad to be controlled by machines.
Right.
Machines are helpmates. Like, we created them to help us, to make our lives better, not to take orders from them.
And I will say, Rogan is homeboys with a lot of people. I will neither confirm nor divine nor know what his agenda is, but he's bringing these people on and having the conversation, which is in our own right what we're trying to do as well. So let people speak their truth to power, and in doing so, we can judge them by their actions. I think that's really important. to know. So without knowing what they're saying, right? He brings on Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel just given $40 billion to AI data centers that I think are floating around in the ocean, these orbs, interesting enough. So it's going to be all over the planet. We might as well listen to them as they talk so we can know them and understand the philosophies that they're bringing and talking about, you know? Don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything is in the eyes and in the tone. Like it's the difference between like Kevin O'Leary is so jittery. He's so you can tell he's like a very unstable person who knows connections. And so it's like, yeah, when you get to see energetically like who people are, it tells you whether or not you can trust them, which is why it's like, why would you trust somebody like him, you know? And yeah, I agree. It's like Joe Rogan does bring on a lot of, you know, wild characters, but it's good to, I think it's good. I think it's good to put people in front of everybody to witness.
Yeah.
Because if they lurk in the shadows, then we make things up or we believe things or don't believe things. And yeah, I think putting people in the open and hearing their tone, you can sense a lot of their intentions. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree.
Them. So I don't know why we're not having any of these conversations right now. We're just acting as if this is like some kind of virus like COVID that just spreads across the world inexorably. There's nothing we can do about it. Just wait to get it. It's like, no. If we agree that the outcome is bad, and specifically it's bad for people, we should care what's good for people. That's all we should care about. Is it good for people or not? If it's bad for people, then we should strangle it in its crib right now.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree.
Which is, yeah, I absolutely agree as well, which is why it's like, it makes a lot of questions pop up. You know what I mean?
It does.
And the fact that it is also being pushed through. I mean, honestly, what is quite interesting is the fact that Uranus is now in Gemini, and Uranus, as we know from like mythology, Uranus was like the creator of like the Cyclops and all these like crazy creatures. And then Saturn castrated Uranus, and then Saturn castrated Uranus. Yeah, so it's like then you have that Saturnian sort of mythology flying in as well. So it is interesting to think about like Uranus and Gemini. Gemini is all about like the technology, the communication, the connecting. Uranus is like the advancement and the push of technology. So it is like right timing. It is, but like, why are we creating Cyclops when we could be creating like, you know, new types of flower species, or, you know, like we could be doing something beautiful with this energy, but we're choosing to create like potential monsters who we don't know how to control.
Yeah, no, beautiful. I completely agree. I think this is the last video for the evening, and it's a little palate cleanser for the night. We have to understand that if somebody like Kevin O'Leary is saying that we're trying to fight China, Trump is going to China at the same time trying to make deals, and China's just trying to grow their empire and not kill their people. It seems like you know, China has a great way of life. At the same time, they're massively controlled and surveillanced, and so there's an interesting thing and if we're going to have these people put in these things without our consent, and if there is our consent, we understand why we're consenting to such mass surveillance at a vastly fast pace. We need to start questioning these things. And so, but if we're going to go to war with countries, and I think it's the guise of war, we have to understand that I think that sometimes we're ahead. We don't know what we're truly trying to do. And I think that's
also too like the great enemy China, right?
China,
like China.
Yeah.
I know. So it's like, how do we even know that China is doing that? Like, how do we even know that China? Like, I'm pretty sure I saw a statistic, and then somebody was like, "Is this a recent one?" Because China has like 500 data centers. Yeah. And we have like 14,000 some nonsense number. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Man, maybe their technology is even better. It's even better.
And they already said that they're not going to give jobs that humans do to AI. So, I mean, there is something to say how they always push everything onto China and Russia. China, Russia, Iran. Why are we cutting off our citizens from water? Because of China. Why are we choosing to put all our money into, you know, poisoning the citizens? Because of Russia. Yeah. So it's like, no, it's because of you. You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy how people, and then they believe it because it's said on like Fox News or MSNBC or CNN. It's like, we're all in this together.
Mouthpieces.
It's like, are we all in this together?
Levels of nationalism on both sides of the gun. And we've been focusing on Tucker's content as well. He has a lot of good stuff. He also has a lot of crazy ass shit, which Nick, the grand wizard. Wait, I don't mean it that way. Nick, the grand commander, the great occult reject himself. Nick and I are going to break down Tucker's talk with Sean. What's his name? Sean Stone. And they talk, supposedly Sean Stone, an ex-Freemason, talks about the government, Hollywood, and the occult Freemasonry networks of different things. And so there's a lot of blasphemy and there's a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of great points in that. And so there are certain things that Tucker, Candace Owens, and these people they don't understand the actual Western esoteric tradition as we talk about it. From the magical perspective, from the mystical perspective, and from the perspective of understanding that we're actually all talking about the same thing when we're talking about bettering ourselves. And I think that's really important. And so me, myself, and Nick, so everyone join us here at the end of the week, are going to be talking about, we're going to be reacting to that video, and I think it's going to be great because Nick's hilarious.
Nice.
So this is the last thing for the evening. The electric cardinal head. Thank you, Jugs. The electric cardinal head, Nick, the occult reject, is the man, and we are all grateful for him. Here we go with the palate cleanser. The great Tim Dillon is going to give us his thoughts.
Weird kid who may have a gun. We are not the high school bully anymore. We're the weird kid that may have a gun and is not hot, but is not terribly ugly. Like, you might fuck them. That's who we are. We're the weird kid that knows how to get drugs, who may have a gun, and you could see yourself fucking. We're not the bully. We are not the jock. We are not the quarterback. The American quarterback century is over. This is not Top Gun. We are not Tom Cruise. You need to wake the fuck up. There's a new Chinese kid in school, and he's kind of American looking. He's kind of ripped, but he's also Chinese, and he's hot, and people want to fuck him. They want to fuck him because he's kind of got a nice cock, and people want it. They want to get down, and they want to slurp him. They don't want to slurp us anymore. You know why? Because we've hung out behind the Dairy Queen too long, doing drugs with our friends. We look a little older. We have wrinkles in our face. We're the college kid who keeps going to the high school parties. We're a pedophile, and we may have a gun. This country is a pedophile that may have a gun who knows how to get drugs. And you have to deal with that person. But there's a new kid on the block.
That if that doesn't help us understand that the comedy in the world right now is genius and that not all is lost, I don't know what does. Kaiva, thank you for this fantastic evening. Give the people a few last words of positivity, and what the hell are we talking about tonight?
Yeah. Well, I think what we got out of tonight's show was that we all have our sovereignty. We should never give it up no matter what the situation is, because that's all we have is our soul's sovereignty. And the choices we make always affect our future. So it's always important to think about, what are we doing every single moment? Where are we putting our attention? Where is our energy going? To not give it to fear, to not give it to any of the things that could drain you or drain you of your power. So continue to maintain your power, do your practice every day, every night. Yes, and then write yourself little notes for your next lifetime, right? Like, remind yourself, right? We don't need data centers to hold the information for us. We have the Akashic record. We have this energy, and all we have to do is maintain the connection in this lifetime. So don't give up your connection. Keep it strong no matter what happens. This is like essentially the devil's platform to choose to bind you in, and you don't have to be bound in. So stay strong. Join us next Monday, and you can find me at 11kaivarose33.com, or you can go to Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Kaiva Rose.
Beautiful. Beautiful said. Thank you. Yeah, everybody head over to 11 Kaiva Rose 33 if you have some questions, if you have a mystery that needs to be solved, or if you're just trying to figure out what the hell are you doing with your life. She will figure it. She taps into the stars, taps into those cards, taps into your higher genius and or self, and can really help you in all of the chaos. And so and subscribe, follow, and share to all our things. while we're here, just know that there are a lot of questions we ask on a daily basis, and we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I think it's fascinating that you're right, everybody out there, that that laughter is medicine. And so people like a Tim Dillon, fascinating and much needed for social commentary. The fool, right? The fool, the juggler, the joker, the clown. These things we can take within ourselves. And I think if we can pass it through the filter of a level of self-awareness you need to be able to laugh at yourself, laugh at the situation that you're in, we're in, and our country, our planet has found us in. And if we can take everything that's happening through that lens of jokes and laughter, then we can have a better understanding of what is ridiculous and absurd. And if we can understand what is ridiculous and absurd, then we can understand how to not have things be ridiculous and absurd. And it comes down to simple first principles. And so in this day and age, we're trying to understand such concepts such as what is consciousness? What are aliens? Disclosure? What does it mean to think? What does it mean to want to build a family? What does it mean to just live? Take in as much data as we do at all times, and information as our consciousness is expanding at an ever fucking frightening rate as we move through the universe at a drastically strange speeds that we'll never truly be able to fathom. But when we can have the idea to stop and slow down as we sit out and breathe and look at the rain fall, the sunshine. No matter where you're at, if you're out in the country or if you're in a city, we all have the ability to put our feet on the ground and lay a foundation so we can actually work and to control all the elements that are going on around us. Such elements such as this AI data centers, as we're asking what is consciousness and trying to understand our place in the world. We have these data centers as we are building up levels of technology that we don't quite understand where they're going to go in the immediate future. It's not even what's going to happen in the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now. We can't even ask questions like that anymore, especially because how fast information is speeding up at such a drastic rate. We need to ask about it right now because these things are being built right now. Same thing as Palantir, Oracle, Amazon, Meta. They're taking your data and they're storing it away, and they're using this AI to be able to have pattern recognition and to be able to make judgments and to change history, past, present, and future collectively and individually. And at the same time as people are trying to tell you what alien disclosure is, what are these things outside of ourselves? What are these things within ourselves? What are the things all around us at all times? These things are going to be sold to you on a platter, and you must not accept them. You must question them, because if you can't even trust your own mind to make the correct decisions, how can you trust a body of a government that is sick, or a collective that is sick because they're trying to wipe the wand in front of our face? And so these are questions that need to be asked as people are now, there's like 47 cases of hantavirus, some rat fucking virus moving through like the country at a drastically slow pace. So what does that mean? Do these people eat rats? Because that's the only way technically that these things can be passed along. So what are you trying to say? And then why are certain individuals in certain videos that are being put out to the public talking about the hantavirus when these same individuals were also talking about COVID back in the day? And so then we got to ask ourselves all these questions as we're trying to even just go through our normal everyday life. And so shows like this and others alike that we associate with, and the ones that that are out there that we don't associate with, but we're trying to. They're trying to plant seeds in a dying empire as AI and the control grid are drastically growing up around us at all times. And the way to combat that is to do exactly as we've been talking about. Plant a seed of thought, plant a seed of mystery, of wonder, and ask the real questions and get ourselves back to baseline, to accept the call to adventure on this journey as we walk our way through the planet, being bombarded by things that we don't quite understand. But if we can see it through the eyes of the magician, warrior, king, priest, queen, then we can see it through the eyes of the adventurer, and then we can understand what are the correct choices to make as we're trying to find the philosopher's stone, unite in that sacred marriage, understand the alchemical processes, and become better humans, because that's what it's about. It's about becoming a better human, and we cannot become more than human, because humanity is a very important thing. To be human is why we chose to be here. And so let's live an embodied experience as we as we just every day are absorbed into the chaos, but you can be your own individual agent without having to give way to some transcendent thinking or give way to the transhumanist agenda. So thank you, everybody, this fine evening for joining Magus in the Media with Kaiva Rose. Again, find Kaiva Rose at 11 Kaiva Rose 33. And here, if you haven't, please like, subscribe, and share to Magus in the Media, because I'm going to be bringing you live streams with the Occult Rejects, the great Electric Cardinal Head himself, Jin the Ninja of Threshold Saints in the Grey Lodge, as well as our many, many other friends out here doing the good deeds and making the great work amongst this, as we all are Neo on our own journey trying to unplug as we fight the Matrix and battle the Smiths. And so pretty soon I'm going to be coming out with, over the next day or so, David Beth of Theon Press. Him and I had an amazing conversation where we talked about the Black Pilgrimage, and a brilliant and amazing book that I think everyone should get. Support Theon Press, because these presses are brilliant. Support Scarlet Imprints. Right now they're going through really hard times, Scarlet Imprints and the rest of the Rune Soup family. And so please, if you can, in your prayers and thoughts, prayer for the family and the friends and the relatives of Gordon White. I give my heart to Gordon, and he is on his adventure right now, because they never truly do leave us. Their ideas and their hearts and their minds are with us at all times. And these are great Jedi, warriors, mystics on the path of awakening. And so we have to understand, we have to take their work and integrate it into our own, take the things that we enjoy, leave the things that we don't, and make it all essentially our own. And in our prayers and hearts, just make sure that we all lift each other up. And so along supporting those that we can, we must understand when to learn the enemy as they speak and in their eyes. And that enemy is the one that you look at every day, and that when you choose the easy thing instead of the hard. David Beth is coming out soon. I interviewed Lon Milo Duquette. I'll be breaking that one. I interview Angel Miller this weekend. That's going to be fantastic. Colin Conkright, pick up his book, American Esoteric, The Universalist. It is a fantastic philosophical tome of his understanding about how important the universals are. And so support American Esoteric, because he's doing the good work. So yeah, this is fantastic. I had a great time. Kaiva, how do you feel? Can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, I'm not muted.
You are.
but-
You're good now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nice.
No, I feel great. This was great. I feel like a lot was revealed. We talked about so much. This is fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it next Monday.
Yeah, we're going to do it next Monday. We're going to figure out a time. It'll probably be at the same time. Thank you, Jugs. Thank you, everybody. Krista, thank you for watching. Farrell Grin. Stella, we appreciate you. Thank you, Stella. And thank you, Freighter, for your super chats.
Thank you so much.
You both are it is so welcome, and it helps everything. Yes, Jin is awesome. And again, we had such a great time. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. And as you move through the world, make sure that you understand that there's one thing that combats such darkness, and that is myth, magic, and meaning in the world. That's what we're here to do, and that's what we're here to bring and awaken in all of us. I hope everybody has a wonderful night, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.